days of CAD.
I saw someone and then why?
So our website's just rainbow.
Okay. All right. I think get started. Audio. Okay, I think we're good to get started here in a second.
Oh, I know.
We're missing Sarah. Are we missing anybody that we think may be coming in?
I don't think I'm Emily done her
Just order stuff.
Wait, were you done? Were they done yet? Were those finished?
No, the green bar was one.
Oh, are you sure?
Pretty sure. Finish downloading, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan. You can download the console here. Junior, senior.
If we go to World Championships, no, because freshman year I was in class.
Do you not see
Oh, I would really? I would have coach. Yeah, I would have coach. That rather than this would be so good. I would go to That's true. That's why I would not. No, I'm not going myself. I heard that. That's what I would
You can just select all the options and like take the 10 minutes to complete. I don't know if that's
Interesting. It's always something. All right.
Yeah, basically.
figuring out why I can't get this thing on the screen. But afterwards, we're gonna do some in-assembly editing, like we did a little bit yesterday, kind of like sort of what you do with the belly pan, but a little bit more than that. And then drawings too. Except today's problem. First day's problem was no internet. Yesterday's problem was no mouse. Today's problem is no screen. Yes.
Turn it on over there.
Yeah, no. I just can't get my laptop to throw. I can throw everybody else's screen. This is awful.
Seriously, Alan, I brought my glasses.
Good job.
I can see.
I can't project anything to anything at all. There's probably really loud noises coming out over
Hey, Alan, you can do it. Moral support. Moral support.
might want to rotate your viewer so you can see the no, it'll be barely moving. So this might want to fit it kind of really angle.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, but you guys can keep doing what you're doing because we'll fix that. It turns clear because you're in a new part, so you're editing a part inside the assembly, so it allows it to be completely transparent. I will show you kind of what that looks like. So if we insert the chassis like we were trying to do, all right, so we can, so I have my stuff saved from yesterday. All right, so to start editing a new part inside of an assembly, we would do insert component, we would select new part, and the first thing it wants is a face that it's going to draw on. So you give it some plane of reference. In our case, we're making a belly pan, so down here, and it's going to turn everything transparent because that's what, so it basically shows that you're editing a new part. If you want to change whether it's transparent or not, up here in your like little part edit window, there's an assembly transparency. You can set it all back to opaque if you want. Though that doesn't work if you're in a sketch. Not all the time. If you exit the sketch and then go back into it, it will. Sometimes it's being kind of annoying. There we go. All right, so I'm going to start a new sketch. All right. So I just drew a large square across the bottom. You can, one of the nice things about being by making a part when you're actually inside of assembly is you can use those features. So if I want to make sure that it's on this line, you can dimension that to that line, and you can tell it 0, and it'll force it to be on that line. So now without having to actually know the dimensions of the bottom of the chassis, I can make one that I know is going to fit. It's going to go all the way to the edges. And then same way we always do, you can just quickly extrude. We can tell it's going to be an 1/8 inch piece of something. We want it nice and stiff. All right. Okay. So this is nice, except now this doesn't have any holes or anything in it. So there's a few ways you could do that. You could sit there, you could measure the hole distances, you could figure out all of that. It would take a while. It would be kind of annoying. The easier way to do it is to put a new sketch onto this when you're still editing that part. And then you can use the Convert Entities tool, and you can select the holes that you want to convert. Sometimes things are in your way. You can right-click and hide things. You guys shouldn't have motors there. So you can select a few circles that we mount to. And those circles will be drawn onto the sketch that we want when you hit OK on the Convert Entities tool. Now I'm going to hit OK, and we can see when I come back I have those holes already sketched in there, and I didn't have to do any dimensions or anything. I know they're the exact same size holes as what's on the chassis already. Yep. It should be in Sketch. It's going to be next to Trim Entities and Offset Entities.
What exactly do you select?
You click on parts not inside of it, so you actually click the rim of the hole. So if I wanted, say I wanted to add this hole too, you would get it to select the actual rim of the hole, and then you hit check, and then it gets the hole. If you end up making something you don't want, you can just click on it and delete. Whenever you convert entities, it gets a sketch relation, just like we saw parallel and perpendicular on day one. That's called on edge, and it puts that little arrow there. That arrow means it's referencing some other part. So it's not going to let you click and drag it because it's in reference to something else. But if you were actually to move this rail or something, those holes would move because it's actually in reference to that specific hole. So if it allows you to do, sometimes that can lead you into trouble because you thought you had something put somewhere and it ends up moving because you moved some other part. But for the most part, it allows you to update assemblies really nicely. So if you do change hole locations and things, it'll update for you. Once we have those holes there, we can very easily cut them out. Extrude Cut. This is a good place anytime you're working with like flat material. If you use the Through All command, you don't have to worry about putting in an actual number for thickness or whatever. You know, you're just going to put a hole all the way through it. So when you do cut, you can select Through All instead of Blind. And now those holes are all there. We know they're concentric. Let me undo. So we're back in the sketch. We go to Features, Extrude Cut. And so normally this is selected to blind, and we'd have to put a dimension in here, which is fine. If you know the thickness, you can type it in. But if you were to update the thickness, like if I put in 0.125 and then I change the thickness of the belly pan to 1/2 inch or something, it won't update, and it will only still put an 1/8 inch hole. So if I put Through All, it'll always be a through hole every time. So now we have those few holes. If you wanted to, you could convert entities and select every single hole if you wanted to get them all, but that would take a really long time. Instead, you could do one, figure out what the pattern is. I think these are 1/2 inch on center, but if I don't know that, I can always use the measure tool to find out. If I clicked on the right things with the measure tool. Yeah, so this says they're 1/2 inch on center. Sometimes when you measure circles, you'll get different measurements and you're not sure what it is. This up here in the measure tool, there's a little option box that says arc circle measurements, and you can choose center to center, minimum distance, maximum distance, or custom distance. So you can do center to mid, center to max, all sorts of things like that. Most of the time, you probably want center to center, but sometimes you want to know how much material is between those things, so you can get minimum distance. And it tells us that there's 0.337 between those two holes. So in that case, I could very easily come in, I could take this one, I could pattern off this sketch entity and put it all the way down every 1/2 inch, and I'd make all those holes match if I wanted to do that. Let's see. How do you do convert entities? So you have to be in a sketch. So like if make sure you're in edit part. So if you're in the full assembly, you right click on the part you want to edit and do edit part. Then you create a new sketch by going to sketch and hitting the sketch button and choosing your face. Then you hit the convert entities tool, and you get up that there's a little blue box over on the left, and then you select entities that are on a different part because you're going to convert them to be part of this sketch, or in a different face or anything like that. It'll actually convert anything onto to be in the sketch that is a 3D part. So I can add some different. Yeah, let's say it's under features. So I can put 2 different holes in there. Then I can go to features, extrude cut.
There's no feature.
Were you in a sketch?
Yeah, I'm doing a sketch. Everyone else is doing a sketch.
No, you should be, but then there should be a features option. It's next to sketch.
Well, it just says evaluate on one side and the other on the other side.
Somewhere else. Most likely you're in a sketch in the assembly and not a sketch in the part.
Check.
Yep. Okay. So go ahead and exit that sketch. And you want to, if you create a new part, you have to make sure that first you right click and do edit part. So then you're in the part window. So this will be here. You're in the edit part. Then when you hit sketch, you can select the bottom of this. You're in the new sketch. You can convert all the entities, go to features, and it'll all work there. Specify base does not have curriculum. Okay, so you're selecting. So you selected the faces instead of the circles that you actually cut, right? So you have to select the actual rings, not the face. It doesn't know how to take the. For some reason, I don't know why SolidWorks isn't smart enough to do that, but it should be able to. It can't project the face onto a sketch. Okay, you're in this, right? So insert new part, and the first thing it wants is for you to click on a face that you're going to sketch on. So in this case, either one of these or one of those, and now you can sketch on it. You can actually draw the squares and everything. So you can draw a square, you'll have part reference lines. So you can actually snap things. You can snap down line first, and then you can smart dimension to other lines, and tell it where you want to go, how to show it. When you teach it, you learn to do that. Okay, so exit that sketch. That sketch is in assembly, so you have to kind of look where things are in the feature tree. And go to assembly, insert the little arrow below. Little arrow below. Yes. New part. Okay, so now when you're in new part, it's going to generate a part, and the first thing once you click on is the plane that you're going to sketch on. So go to make sure you're on the bottom. Rotate the wall. I don't flip out, but you have to rotate back. Click the bottom. But you want to make sure you're on the outline. That plane. And then you can make a square. You can dimension off it. Once you draw the square, you can dimension off things that are in the third dimension. And you can make it both. You got a part inserted?
You got seats.
Okay. But you have to.
We'll go down. You don't trust me.
Did you put a belly?
No.
Did you put a belly?
No.
I know you
Insert part.
Anthony's some bigger ones.
Insert part, not check part.
So you insert first, but then you already have a part? Yeah, you insert first.
It's that one. That's why you never use that one. Put something behind it.
Using
sketch tools, the square based on each draw. Basically, all we're trying to do is get a quarter-inch piece of something that covers the entire bottom of this up until like from like that rail to that rail.
Like when this rail contains block.
Yeah. So like from that corner all the way down to that corner, you draw it and then you can extrude out like.
Professional, how I turn off all those super graphics. Anything special.
It's still transparent when you insert the part. It doesn't. You don't have any shadows. You don't have a feature bar? Okay, so yeah, if you say, okay, so these sketches, these are the below mates. That means they're sketches inside the assembly. We have a sketch inside the part, so you can come up here and do edit part. So now you're editing the part. So if you do sketch in here, it'll show the sketch actually in the part. As a main feature. So you can convert these again. Then you'll have Extrude Cut. Yeah, it's a little bit weird how the hierarchy works, but once you get it exited, it's a lot better.
It's not really knows.
What else are those on? LED. Once people have a belly pan with holes, what do we need to do?
I'm gonna walk through changing one thing. So one of the things that happens when you make a new part inside of an assembly is you get a mate that looks a little bit different than the other ones we've seen. It's called an in-place mate. So this in-place mate just means that this can't move in relation to everything else. Or that it will move in relation to the other things, but you can't drag it right now. It's going to be completely fixed. And that's okay for some things, and you can leave that if you're updating stuff. But at some point, you're going to want to get rid of that if you want to edit the rest of the robot and you want to move the belly pan around for some reason. So to do that, you can delete the in-place mate. And it's going to give you this big, long warning message. And all this means is it's going to remove the references to those to the holes we made, so that when we drag the belly pan around, it's not going to try to move the cut holes to be in line with it. But we know that they're in the right place for where we want them, so we can hit yes. And now I can drag the belly pan around and the holes stay where they were. And then I can come back in and I can mate it properly like we would if we were actually using bolts. So I can make a couple holes concentric. Yes, Ian.
How I get the point to show.
That is incorrect. How do you get what to show up?
Point at the add corner.
So it won't show up when you're sketching sometimes. So if you click off the sketch, get out of square mode, and then you should want to be on wood one. So if you click on it, and then you hit control, and you click on the other one, you can tell them to be coincident. It's still backwards. Oh, no. Okay, so you gotta look at when you're cutting. See, it says all bodies there and stuff. So what you tried to cut, so you see how when you converted the whole square. So if you zoom back, you can see what it's cutting. It's cutting the entire square. You drew the square edges and you totally cut it. Yeah. So you don't want to do that. So you want to come in, get back to sketch, exit your Extrude Cut feature. You can use trim where you just click on one and delete. Trim you can act like you're gonna make a knife and stuff. And then when you come back to the cut and you look at the preview, it'll actually show it as
Have to go with it.
sometimes you can also do select contours or absence or sugar anywhere. You can select on each hole. Feeling it actually too. Yeah, you can do that. And here, I keep it all. Because you're randomly making this part inside of another part. This part is part of this part. Okay. So let's not do that. It's just that you gotta play around with the hierarchy bit. So let's get rid of that. Okay. So we want to do new part. And then this level, same thing we just did. But now you have a new part down here that you're actually editing with. So then you can do the sketch again, you can draw the squares, and all the convert entity stuff will actually make sense because it's different parts. And you just want to make sure any new sketches you make and stuff actually are inside this tree. So like just kind of like in programming where you have tabs, that's the same thing. You want to make sure your new sketches here and not down here.
I like the game.
So finish the sketch and do, so you already have it, you finished the sketch, right? So then you want to use the invert entities tool. And then you can select the whole, and it will. Yeah, it projects lines, it projects features that are already there on this. You're welcome. So you can do that for any feature. Okay. So then there's the X that closes all solids. Don't do that. And there's the X that just closes the part. Keep changing the symbol. Otherwise you're far away. Yes, sir. Yes, Jimmy. Can you make that longer? Yeah. So that's the sketch that you made, right? So right click on the sketch, and go to the sketch. Now you can drag
Why do we always get stuck on the same thing?
Like smart dimension, and you can look on one like one line and that line,
Like,
and you can tell it to be
if you
0
got
inches
stuck on
apart.
different things, it would help just put,
You can just drag it, you can move
yeah,
everything.
so now that you can't extrude the holes. So, you have to.
So let's get rid of that component. Okay. So yeah, hit the little plus sign there, just so I can see. So that's their feature tree for this, which you have somehow managed to make way too many boss extrudes than you possibly need. I don't know why. You've you've apparently managed to make a ton of the same things. Original and there's needed to the same thing. All right. Now we're gonna all your stations.
Okay, so what exactly is the concept of the sketch? Is it that you just manipulating stuff in one frame?
Yeah, sketch is just 2D, and then when you put a feature on it, you make it into a 3D part. Okay, so now we can go back into here, and we can edit part, like we've been doing, right? So we're in the part, and we're in the right feature. All this is blue, we know where we're at. And now we want to make a new sketch. Let's get that double edit part thing. I've had that up before, I don't know why. It's very annoying. It doesn't do much, it just makes your feature bar really long, and for some reason, I don't really know why. I don't remember exactly how.
Okay, right.
I don't know. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so you can go ahead and put a new sketch here. So you were doing that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So when you do convert entities, you have to click on the holes.
Yeah.
So like those two, and you want to make sure your sketch only has those holes in it. Except those holes don't go through.
Yeah.
Because you only did it. You only did it. we'll do that again. Right. We'll do that again. Put in these, a couple others. Yeah. So, okay, so you want to make sure it only has these. So what I'm thinking happened is you had lines somewhere. Like if you click on this and hit convert entities, it'll make the line of the entire square. And we don't want that. So you only want circles inside of it. Then when you go to features, Extrude Cut, and you go through all.
That's right.
It's the same problem. Double tap. You want to set it
In this sketch, which are in the assembly. So actually what you can do, which you should not do actually, I was going to show you this video. Because if you convert these entities, it will work. You can convert sketch entities onto sketch entities. But now you get all sorts of craziness. So now see how they're black and red in this sketch? So you can go back in, you can do it now, and it would cut. But now those are referenced to that other sketch. There's actually so if I did that, right? And I'm like, oh, this sketch, I don't need this anymore. I delete this. Now those be mad, you know, because this nice big yellow mad sign. Because now they've lost all their references. So they don't have anything to be on the edge of. So they're gonna be really angry. So you can you manage to start a sketch in the assembly and not in the part. So you can sketch in assemblies for references and things, do a bunch of stuff like that. But you don't. It's one of the common errors. Right? I do it even at work. I'll mess up and do that. But the easiest thing to do at this point is to just delete the sketch. So you just have to make sure when you start the sketch, this part is blue when you're actually in the part. Once that happens, you hit sketch. So the sketch will be in the right place in the feature tree, not down there.
The whole
See those black lines? Those black lines mean you've sketched other things. Stop sketching other things. You sketched the square. Delete the square. You want to only have the circles in your sketch. Like so when you I think I figured out where part of the problem is. So everybody realizes something. So like converted entities and most of the other features, they think SolidWorks tries to be nice and helpful, and if you have a face selected and you click convert entities, it converts that face. So if you have it selected already and you click it, it'll give you the whole square and it'll draw that square in the sketch for you, which is most of the time not what you want. So before you go and click in the feature bar, click into blank space to deselect everything. Then you can click convert entities, then you can select whatever you want every time. Delete the square lines, or leave the whole sketch inside. You only do the whole frame, but you have a bunch of sketches that have, so you see how there's all the lines in them. So you can delete all those sketches. Delete all the ones that have lines, the only one that has sketches that have holes, and you can achieve them.
Now I can't do Extrude Cut. I'll do this for you.
You're gonna do it.
You're not in this sketch. This sketch, now you're black. You generated another sketch. I don't know how you did that. Stop generating sketches.
So we do it the right this time. The right this time?
Am I going? Yep. So you put holes in the same sketch as your base extrude. So actually, so your part doesn't actually go there, so you can't actually drill holes. So your belly pan doesn't come in.
Right there.
Was right there.
Yeah.
The whole sketch and got rid of that.
I don't know what you did and what I did, so first time.
Oh, editing this sketch, which is the sketch that makes the whole thing, you want to be in this part like you were before, and then you want to click on sketch, so it'll let you generate a new sketch. So now you're below the part that says extrude. So that we've already dealt with that sketch. It's already been consumed by extrude. So in the new one, you do the circles, which you do like up here about it. Actually, you could get out of the part or clearly you need that made right now and then it'd be perfect. Okay, so this is one of those times where it's transparent. If you hold the shift key, it'll let you select transparent things properly. Now you can select a couple. Do entities, change circles on the right. Extrude cut. So we have to do all now to print the whole through.
Okay.
Basically there, it's just.
I say repeat it.
Yeah, you have to do. Okay, so now you're back here. So you can do, you can go to convert entities, you can finish whatever circles you want, and then do that same extrude cut thing, you'll be right.
Wait, Alan, he can only do it 6 months and no one 6 months.
You do what?
He can only do it in certain months.
So I have it on the pool. I think that, put that right there. Yeah.
Oh.
You were inside of the. You were inside of a sub-assembly. The feature tree can go very, very deep. You can go.
You have to go deeper.
Features. You can go assemblies into assemblies into assemblies. You don't want to do that. You want to eventually get to your main, figure out where you are, and then you're okay.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Getting close. Doing a lot of them.
Someone should make a play and you want to make this up.
You got it.
Wait, you don't need to make it.
You can. That one, right, you can't do it because it has an in-place mate. So if you delete the in-place mate, then you can make it properly. So you have to choose go over here into the mates folder. So you delete the in-place one. So that just basically shows you where you're sketching on. It's going to give you an error message when you hit yes. It's going to tell you want to make the right references, so you said yes. So then when you move it, it'll still have all the holes you have. Oh, edit, you're in editing.
I don't know what. Diego has defaulted to meters and not in.
So he's going to go.
Wait, does he help us?
Yeah, you're going to go into tools, options. There's like a menu somewhere to find units, which is IPS. Yeah. That's
How does that
You are inside of a different part that you should be in. You're currently in the rail. So you always have to make sure you're in the right part. You want to make sure you're sketching this part too. So when you do convert entities, you have to be inside of a sketch in this part. This is what we're going to be cutting through. So when you start new sketch, it's in the right place. This is actually blue. This is the part that we're on. So when you click on it, it becomes blue. And then even you convert entities, then everything will work properly.
All right.
Yeah, you always have to make sure you're ending the right part.
Why is it changing this thing?
Why is it changing?
Like when I try to make it, it goes like, okay, it's not
Part of that is going to be because instant 3D is on.
Yeah.
I think that's a large portion of it.
So you want to hold on the actual video?
Okay. No.
Oh. Yeah, go to doctor.
Pull this one off. This is I don't know how we did this.
Wait, how I do the rep thing?
Oh, wait, no. You made your extrude up to a surface, and you referenced it to a surface instead of giving it a distance.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know how long it was.
Yeah, that'll be an issue, because then when you go to move it, it's going to always go to that surface.
Wait, okay, so how do I...
So just tell it like 1/8 of an inch or something in there instead of off the face. Just tell it like 1/8 of an inch, it'll be fine. Because that is 1/8 of an inch. Make it 0.125. 1 divided by 8. It was much better. Yeah, you can tell it things. Get things going. You have lots of holes. You're in good shape. Do you have holes? Good shape. Okay. Okay. The way it start, we need to figure out how to do. Let's do speed controllers onto the belly pan, and then we're gonna have to make holes for the speed controllers on the belly pan, and then we'll actually pattern out the speed controllers themselves and the holes for them. Does that make sense? So you'll put the speed controller down, and then you'll put the holes in for it. Make a new sketch, cut the holes like you would, and then when you do linear pattern, you can select both You'd have to do 2 different patterns at the time. You could do it the other way, but it'd be really annoying, and you wouldn't want to do it. So yeah, you put the speed controller down. You can linear pattern the speed controller as a part, like inside the whole assembly, and then when you can linear pattern the holes to inside the part itself, inside the belly pan. If that makes sense. But first, you can just put speed controller, get holes in it. Yeah, find Talon somewhere, probably in 2014. It might not be. It could be in Andy Mart, Talon.
We'll let them convert it.
You don't have to click on every single hole. You really don't. You really don't. Once you kind of got it, you're good.
Shouldn't I know how to play with
So you have to make sure that you edit the part you're trying to edit. You know, cut a hole through the belly pan, right? So we're going to make sure you edit that part. Oh, that's why. This is a different part. All the way over there. Mary. Can you seriously stop making parts inside of other parts? How are you doing this? How doing this? You stop being inside this part. I totally understand what you're doing. I literally told you I stopped you this earlier. I put you properly in this part, which exists, and you like a single sketch. Okay, so make sure you're editing this part. This has to be blue when you're editing the belly pan. If anything else is blue, you're doing it wrong. So make this blue. Then when you do sketch, you can sketch on top of here. Bottom, and then go blue, you're in this sketch, and you can draw squares and move the front panel. Make sure you're editing in here if you're ever editing the belly pan. What?
It's your seat, because you
Oh,
see
turn
it
sideways?
like, yeah. So she has the like perfect.
Perfect.
Like, you know, like perfect. So it's perfect. Because it's on the front. Oh wow. So this is a bunch of.
So just Oh, I think you're editing. No, she's inside the thing. Yeah, so she has to stay there and then go to it. Wait, how did she?
I got one side.
Oh, wait, you're inside? Yeah. That's why.
Okay, so maybe you're gonna fix it. Also, it's like, okay, I mean, if you start on the road, it's not too long. It helps you get practice.
Whoa, Jason, hold it back.
There you go.
They're in the wrong place.
Yeah, because they're still referenced probably.
Also, the Sherman out your house is. Also, Sherman.
So if you drag it to, like it's gonna be update cut.
Actually,
So what you managed to do is you managed to misplace somehow you left part of the place, which is incorrect. So we're going to make that's the right side. Now that's kind of back where we're supposed to be right now. You're gonna be exactly very close. Okay, so, but you still have these holes that are being referenced. So what you do is you click on the belly band and you right click here. Oh, wait, you have to do list external list external references. So this is shows all of those holes basically are being referenced there. From the rail. So as you move it, it only sees those holes. So if you break all, it breaks all the references and it keeps the holes exactly where they are. So now if I delete those things, I add it back in. And drag, it takes all the holes. So you can make those back, put it backwards, and you can make those holes the way you should actually do it. So you would make that hole, and two, so that you can get all the axes out of the way.
Okay. Yo. Do you need help?
No, it's not.
Okay. Go to town put in. Okay, so then we need to figure out a way to get it some distance off the wall that we want, some nice place where it would be right, not in the way of where imaginary motor will be. Put it somewhere nice where the imaginary motor won't be. And then you can make different distances away from things, make sure you get something that's a reasonable number. And then you can edit the belly pan again, and you can convert the entities for the town screw holes to be bolt holes. The same way you did for the chassis holes. And then if you want to actually pattern a town, you can, when you're in the full assembly by itself, there's a linear pattern for like parts. And you can tell which directions, you can like put on the edges and tell it to go along there. You can give it as many as you want. You can tell it how far apart to be. And then you can put the bolt holes there for everything as well.
I'm cold too.
There we go.
Start this time.
I think I must have. I played around with it. So I must have missed
No, big green letters.
Okay, tell you to go ahead and plus on there. So anytime you have this word stuff, it's a lot of stuff in the world. Okay. This does happen. So power not the issue. This doesn't actually extend. So your belly pan is a bit bigger, so that it doesn't cover those holes that are holes on that side.
I'll give you a text. Questions?
Belly pan, so we have the one extra on the belly pan, so we can edit that sketch. Come in and we can tell it we want it to be all the way next to that line. Then we can
0. Okay, it'll force it all the way back there. Do the same thing on the sides here. So it's all the way there.
Yeah, it was selecting the
0.
You have to make sure it's concentric to the
Side.
And now your belly pin is belly pin. Your belly pin once we can go on the bottom
There was some dimension that was not like it.
actually turn sideways like that. It would look terrible. No, this point here is just really hard to get back to place.
Sometimes when you see things like that, it helps to fully open the part.
They're not intention. Rush against the light. Just the right way.
There's a different way.
Wait, should we do that?
Did you fit any holes into it?
Bigger. Now we can do it, so we can do that same smart dimension from here. Now, we still have some main problems.
You're gonna have to do the line work getting the carpenter's house. Actually straight.
You have to be fully in the assembly to be able to do that. No more red. We don't need. Yeah. I don't have every 3D sketch in my life, so I don't know. There's probably a use for it, but I've never had to do it for robot stuff. So it's okay about it. So then once we have it where it's actually covering all the holes up, so we'll like basically in real life we'd have to be able to put it real the same way. So we can edit this part again, because right now we're fully in the assembly. There's nothing over here moving, so we're fully in the assembly. So we can edit part. And that gets us to where we are just editing this. So all this turns blue, this is where we want to be. If you want to put a hole in here, you want to be where this is blue. We have to edit this. A new sketch. And we put a new sketch. Now we see the sketch is inside this part too, because it's tabbed over and it's inside this, so we can actually like move it, it shows up that it's in this part. We don't want it down here because that's in the assembly. And then if we do convert it to these, when stuff is transparent, it won't let you select it very easily. Once you go to the shift key, and then you can select transparent parts. So then we get those circles there. So you can go and do whatever other holes you want. You don't need to do them all, just do them at like a couple corners. And then if you extrude cut and through all, it'll cut the holes all the way through.
I'm gonna go take my challenge. They won't let me. Try using parallel.
So we talked about this at the end of yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
How faces aren't flat.
Oh.
Go with planes.
So you have to use the planes.
Something like
Just show the planes. Just show the planes on the talon.
Wait, what?
Talon faces aren't flat, especially if you want them to be there or not. So you have to use the planes that already exist in the talon. So if you click on the talon,
Oh.
there's a plane that just show that. That's reasonable. Next pro motors. You can. You still need to put a talon and put holes.
Yes.
Well, it has holes.
Yeah.
How do you make holes again?
Same way you just made holes for everything else.
How do I make a linear pattern hole?
Make a hole and make linear pattern of the hole.
Like putting a slim to the post, it's supposed to be.
That's supposed to be there. It can be, I mean, yours is fine.
I think that's what, that allows you to mount 4. Yeah, that allows you to mount 4 sims. Just like on yours robot this year has 4 sims, 4 min sims. And uses those holes. Like that's your chassis from this year. You guys use the 2014 drive in the day chassis. I don't know.
I think they're under.
I grabbed one yesterday. Things possibly like 2014 for parts, possibly Andy parts.
610 library.
610 library probably has it. 610 library has like everything. 610 library is really good, better than ours.
Oh wait, they're actually organized.
610 library is really good.
What? Ours is also from that thing.
Yeah.
Ours is really cool. By whatever place I felt like putting things, and whatever place Ryan and Charlie and everyone else have been adding to this over the last 2 years and felt like putting things.
So it's very organized in 6 different ways.
The best way, right?
Obviously.
I just can find nothing of that.
Is this a good place to come?
I mean, this is just to show how we would do it, but if we were doing a full layout, we would start by like,
Putting holes everywhere.
I think we do it on, well, I think last year we did it in CAD first, so basically figured out how, we kind of sketched out what we thought it would look like.
We're doing great.
Pretty false this time.
No, I know.
I mean, just I mean, you could, but there's only, I only put 8
So
in
no
mine.
hole.
I only put 8 in mine.
Yeah, I'm going to just use the.
No holes.
We have to create a new sketch. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, my batteries are thinking.
You guys should put down.
That's not good. Imagine your batteries are set up.
You can't put holes in the screen. You don't snap anything.
Highest level and epic speed. I got destroyed actually. All that time spent getting up there.
Oh, yeah.
She knows.
Yeah, pack and go up here, drive is fine with me.
Yeah, sign that.
No, you can do it to the, if you figure out how to get to 30/7.
Yeah, that's real hard.
There you go. So.
It's actually pretty close to what's happening.
Because it's all pulled on my like 100 gigs of drive, so we can't really run it fill it. Because I paid for it. I mean, I put my random ideas in SketchCAD in there too.
Isn't there like a board where it's supposed to there? It's a can opener that's in there.
You didn't make the bottom there where it goes to like, it takes like 3 seconds. It's actually faster to do this than to see it up there. Yes, it is.
Yeah, because I think it's using the lead part randomly. You have the really long version, so the 20-inch version is there. You can grab your cost by the 5 version. Wait, would you put deep inside punch?
You can. Because you're doing it all in the same base sketch, which is okay. Except for for some reason, like, get rid of all the holes, you have to go into the sketch and delete every hole. instead of just being able to do it in the second one when you're cutting it. So essentially what it So that line right there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know how to do a CD to yeah.
Just the more than 30. It's like 3.1 centimeter.
Now it says that
Because that looks like the model problem. Normally can't really sorry about that. You probably have some space purposes. We're trying to exactly the space.
It's Katie also. Have you ever cut this way?
No, Yes,
Did you convert it?
I did.
Well, I mean, did you do that? I made you a standard square going
No, I couldn't. I have to like select those. Well, I can't select those.
But like, how long road is
like this is like the sketch right now. You're just like defining the sketch plan. Also, that's
There's
a
no-
So, just to make sure that when I put something on, so just make sure we think about it. But yeah, that's
base of the very lip edge of the see how it's like a raised like that way it gives it to like you made it then convert it to the metal battery. So your own references didn't know any of the cases. You managed to very bad.
No.
You come in here.
Sometimes it's a space control.
It was a long.
Mirror everything? Yes. When you flip it there, and you move it like that.
You can mirror everything.
That they're perfectly spaced from each of the sides.
Mirror actually mirror. Don't double mirror things. That'll lead you to a very bad place when you start double mirroring things. Like someone will freak out at you at some point.
Yeah,
I discovered that.
It does not mirror anything ever. One mirror.
And that's how it tells us.
I really don't know what you do with them.
It worked really well.
So how you should do it.
But I can still save it.
Like 16 count, exactly how it looks like.
Just like that.
Can I just rotate it?
You actually it's fun to make sketches too.
Oh,
Alright, so what were you trying to do in that work? You're trying to go into something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you make sure that you're.
Then I remember that you found one on the
Make sure you're in edit part.
Why did
Because there's some broken dates too. Maybe that's what okay. Now we go birds. Hey, look, there's talents. Yeah.
He's better than us.
Yeah, because you're talented, right?
Talented fans.
She's putting in victors. She's putting in victors. Victor is just. What?
I really want to go down.
Double thing. Because that is in the layout menu, which should basically never be a layout menu. Yes. So what are you trying to do? Yeah. Assembly. Drop down Always be in a sketch. You're in a sketch.
Oh, but it shouldn't be outside that line.
That line is just where it's
You hear what when I said
there.
he said I said and you hear what talented.
Or you could make this just approximately how much of your thought time goes into that ones.
I don't want to talk about it.
I feel like you could like solve some of the diseases, like you do a lot of the effort with the amount of effort you put into that ones.
Make sure that specifically does that.
It loves you changing this. That looks good.
Yes. Mary. English and Associates are buying our cans.
Oh, we're doing instructions? Did you get the email?
And they're buying our cans.
They are?
English and Associates are going to give us a budget for cans. We'll actually get to buy whatever cans we want. We don't have to use like random Goya.
No more beans.
We're going to use exclusively Goya beans like we did last year.
There's only beans.
Dude, now you get no cats. You can like cat all the thing.
You have to do
We're going to use SketchUp, which is so hard.
Oh god, SketchUp is so hard to make anything. You know,
If you look at the internet and find a can,
I love you with SketchUp.
go to the internet.
Oh, right, we're doing something. You can. So she does it. chose. I mean, you should have put pictures where there's no. There's several spaces for pictures. What are some hard Well, but part of assembling things is modifying stuff that has been made to make everything fit. I don't know which way. Which way is the inside rail? Does the inside rail have? That way on the wall. I don't know how the inside is. There, not really that would be much faster. I think we can put ball shifters in this. We can mount them on the we don't have to cut the belly. How are you? We got talons. That's normally not good.
Talons are supposed to be on the other side of the line.
What did you try to do? Okay, so right click on the mirror feature and go to edit feature. So that little arrow over there is going to be how you fix things. So you see these arrows here, you can fix those two and it'll give you a little bit of option. You can go backwards, you see other ones. One of them, it's all purple, so you have to like rotate around and see if you can get it where you actually view anything, but you should be able to find the actual orientation.
And you go into the top. And you go into the and you. Or no, it should be. No, so exit. So right here on the.
If you're doing it on the part you want to edit.
Hey, sketch it. Yeah, go to the top.
You got holes in there on this one? Okay, cool. So now we're going to insert a talon, which is from the 610 libraries at the COTS folder. Like COTS 610 libraries. There you go. Good job, David. And then you're going to mount one of those with its flat bottom side on the top of the thing. Talons are the speed controllers. They actually let us control the power going to the motors. 610 library at COTS electronics.
That's true, yeah.
Good job, man.
I was like, you're right.
Like one of the
You can just click and press it. You have one. Then you're going to make the flat bottom side to the inside of the chassis. So like this other side of this, right? So you want the flat side on there. So use the make tool. You can make a coincidence. That'll tell them that those two faces are touching each other.
Oh yeah, why is there like all tape instead of like wire things? Isn't it?
So over here, we get the assembly transparency.
Inside there.
Yeah, I don't know. How did you mention change your transparency? That's actually really weird. I actually don't know how to do that.
The weird thing is she has another like fancy graphics on it. Oh,
That's right. Lines. You turned off the lines. That line. Okay. That was it. So now you can draw lines.
so now you hold shift and you click the whole.
Shift.
Just hold on shift. So now it's like
You shouldn't require me to sketch your speed.
just find a hole you like.
Huh? Nothing. Wait, what are we doing here? Just
Okay, so it's
detail.
Did you put a talon on? I mean, we're learning to edit parts and add things into an assembly and edit a part in assembly.
Talent for each character.
Yes. Yes. Good job. So yes, so now I mean you can, we've done that yesterday, but you can, maybe a little, there's no problem. But the main part about being able to add a talent is you're adding something that you're going to cut holes in the belly pan after you've added it. So you're going to make the talent into the face, you're going to position it, then you're going to convert those entities and have the holes in the belly pan.
Okay, where's the talent?
610 library electronics. Or any more talent account. There's probably multiple cut folders.
You can select that. Select that.
You're in edit sketch, not in convert entities. So you need to make a sketch on the belly pan. You have to hit sketch.
You can edit part.
You have to hit sketch.
It's the airport.
Then you click on the belly pan. Now you have a new sketch. Now you're in a sketch. You gotta make sure where you're at. So now you're in a sketch. Now you convert entities. Now you're in convert entities. Now you should go to something else.
You always have to know what feature you're in. That's my time right there.
It's so logical.
I know.
Why did I do that really?
That made too much sense.
It did.
But she didn't bring food out.
Really?
Where do talents
Are you
go?
going to me? Are you going to me?
Wow, where are you going to be chocolate?
I got chocolate. I don't know. I don't want to be disappointed like every other day.
Every day. You will be disappointed.
Chocolate.
I want the green one.
Are you getting no chocolate?
Are they all the same?
Do you want it or no?
Are they all the same?
I want the green
They're all the same before you want the green.
Sorry.
Wow, how was fun.
Does it enjoy you teasing me like that?
Does it enjoy you not giving me references?
Does it enjoy you?
It also is fun.
Why would they?
On the belly pan.
Anywhere you want. Yes, speaking
The
of that,
whole goal is just so you can learn to convert the entities and make the holes and all that stuff.
hit the holes.
Keep the holes.
Let me see something. For our next step in robot construction.
Syria.
I mean, you can add a Cerio if you want, but or you can try to figure out how to go download the RoboRio model and add that in.
That's a lot of work, Alan.
It's somewhere on the NI website.
Do that again?
That's your
I don't want to do that.
Yes, you do.
What?
Hey, you do, yeah. Aren't you enthusiastic?
Right, I can't wait to do it.
What else could we do? We could add a gearbox to it instead of using the direct drive stuff. We could make this version that uses, that you'd have to flip the rail around. That'd be annoying.
Yeah, we've established that. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
You have to do the convert entities. That's what's sad.
What is
Hey, this is fun.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Oh, here it is. Okay, so yeah, if we want to move to the 2015 control system, we can input the RoboRio, which if you go to the Andy Mark RoboRio site, there's a link down here, and it has a RoboRio CAD folder, and we can download that. And you Andy Mark RoboRio, like if you search RoboRio on the Andy Mark website, there's a link to the National Instruments website that has a link to the RoboRio CAD.
Okay, then you can make it parallel to that side. And then I'll share on to the whole.
And then they have a STP file, which SolidWorks wants to be medium, not let me drag things. So then we can import the step file like we did with the Andy Mark files and things and the Vex Pro files.
Oh, I think we can all can see that. So also on occasion, SolidWorks will crash very, very hard. But also on occasion, SolidWorks will just decide to do this, and then it'll actually come out of it if you let it sit here. I'm not. Yeah, I was importing a part. I'm not entirely sure which one this is. I'm thinking this is a hard crash, but I could be wrong.
We could check how much memory it is.
Yeah, that's true. It's only using a gig, and it's still using 47% of the CPU, so it's probably doing something.
You get challenge in there? Get pulse from?
Nope.
They get pulse from. Because they went down the pulse.
Well, there was that year we put motor controllers on the zip tie.
That's true, but you still have that pulse from.
You can make the whole afterward.
you have multiple. You have to have multiple holes. You get that 2 holes.
Yeah, that was really.
You do all of your switches measurements using the varieties. It works. It's amazing. Probably does. No, it works. It's better to do it all now. You're going to be able to put all 8 sims on that? Your talent is simple.
8 sims. Hence the minimum.
But the 12. And the sims are over here.
That's the new design we're gonna work on.
Oh.
8 wheels, 12 sims.
You buy a chassis, just throw every single one.
Just drawing from the website if you want.
It's also how is our team
First rules, 2 if they're under 30 watts. So you can have 2 small ones.
Save for the bottom, no one's expecting how many better.
2 if they're under 30 watts, but you like not having a blown up thing, make sure that. If you imagine if you put 2 sims on one speed control, right? The sim installs at 130 amps. You're going to briefly put 260 amps through a single speed controller. It barely handles sim stalling. It's not going to like 260 amps move through it.
You have to
What if with all my motors?
Single speed controller? Nah, it'll break really fast. Also, it's going to be powered by a single 40 amp breaker. So it's going to break very fast. Lots of clicking. Good job. Are they spaced in any reasonable way?
Nope.
One under a battery?
You select your picture.
No. It wasn't.
But it's not. But you didn't like line them up or space them at all.
You look reasonable.
But did you convert any of these off the talons? Is that what you did? Good. So what that means is that I drag this and I hit Control B, the holes move. So now you can space the talons and the holes will always be under.
That's the spacing?
Yes. So like go show the planes and you can space off of the planes.
Well, I tried and well.
I spaced it once.
Space it. They're clearly not even.
Alan's even.
They're clearly not even.
Good one, yeah, that's prettier than mine.
One is far closer to the real.
No, they're.
Use the planes.
I did.
You have to use planes?
Coincident the planes together. Two different talons.
No, but one's backwards, one's front.
Use planes?
Then figure out what the distance is between them. So
No.
to select a talon.
Then I have to use measure.
So now we have those planes there. So you can use this one, this one. Now they wind up.
Are you going to wait afterwards?
I think it got
You go do the other one.
I got scared.
Oh wait, hey, my thing came up. Look, there's a Robo-Rio. It didn't die. It was actually making a Robo-Rio. So this is what the new control system will look like for next year. Nope. This is the last year of the Zero. We've had Zero since 09.
We have to buy another one?
Everyone gets one in their kit of parts.
But why is that better?
I could tell you it'll take a while, but in general, it's like upgrading your computer. It's a much faster processor. In general, the footprint's nicer for robots. We get this nice little flat box instead of the giant, we don't get a toaster, right? We get a slice of bread instead of the loaf of bread.
Yeah, that is a lot smaller.
Yes. It's a lot easier to produce. It's a lot easier to get much faster inputs on. There's a lot of upgrades that are nice. We get direct USB. It runs Linux instead of VxWorks. It's completely better than the other one.
No.
pay for the better shirt, right?
No, you're fine.
You weren't favoring Yanni.
She gave me like a check for a lot of money.
Oh, no, that's supposed to Fort Worth pizza merchant.
That paid for Fort Worth.
Okay.
Wait, but those were free, so you keep. How much money did you
I can't recall. Say it wasn't one.
What?
Yan gave like 50.
That was 40, and I gave you money back.
Is that little square thing on the back of this chassis for the battery?
Yes. So you can mate that to it, and you can put the battery in if you want. So I'm going to put the Robo Rio into this chassis. Let's see, we can make the mates. Maybe. All right. Really?
Look at my ego, yeah.
No, I would not.
Yeah, Nick, don't look at my ego.
Okay, fine.
You call me Alan? Beautiful.
Look my speed.
That doesn't seem fixed. Well, what? To do feature works? Yeah, don't do feature works. I'm doing import diagnostics right now to try to make it so it's slightly nicer and gives less errors, but we'll see if it works. What?
How do you move the holes?
How do you move what holes?
The talons of the holes.
Did you convert entity? Did you move the talon? Did you hit Control B?
Oh.
Rebuild. 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 It solves all the mates and references and everything. So if you have, if you have a talon that's not mated to the bottom and you convert entities and you have cut the holes, if you move that talon, then hit Control B, it knows that it's supposed to be, the holes are supposed to be underneath it, and it moves the holes.
It didn't work.
Then you probably didn't convert entities off the talon, did you?
I did.
You sure?
Oh, maybe if you remember press Control B, it says part 3 has assembly.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh.
I think I broke my Robo Rio.
Wow.
That's not good.
Just got it.
I know, it was brand new. Oh, it's back.
Funny thing, we have to select the bottom face of something that doesn't want to show you the bottom face.
Yeah, I just like pulling
We just turn the wireframe and then you
Yeah, Matthew, you can also just right-click on whatever is not letting you show it and hit hide.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Also, it's the own object that you select.
Oh.
I didn't want to do a belly pan because I also had to make something to the belly pan.
That does make it difficult. I've, it does not like the Robo Rio right now.
I don't know what's I don't know what's You can't import that. She's not in anything else.
Exactly.
SolidWorks does weird things sometimes. Make your sandwich away. You don't have time. Put your sandwich away.
Alan, what's that?
Work harder.
There we go. Alan, make harder for nappies.
You won't be hungry if you're working hard. So.
It's actually true.
I did it.
Alan, okay, it's good thing you do powder.
Work harder.
I did it.
Good job.
I forgot what.
Yeah, I got a sandwich.
You got a PD?
Don't talk about food.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where we don't do this CAD edition.
Now I really want it.
If you try to add a robo Rio, it might break the computer like it's doing right now. Okay, so what else can we put on our
I don't know. I think that's all.
Is that gonna win you a regional, Mary?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Wings. Yes. Our robot has wings.
Where's the wires? There's nothing connected to the other thing. How are we gonna win a regional? I don't know.
Compressor.
If you find a compressor, you can put a compressor.
Yeah, 6-7. Yeah.
We touched like
Oh, how many compressors can we put on a robot?
Good job.
How many compressors can we put on a robot?
No!
This is fun.
No one touched the front 6 times he did that. There's a picture on Chief 610 with like a bunch of compressors on their robot for no reason. They just like left space.
Alan, we need like
Yeah, put a compressor.
3.
With the robo Rio, you can download the robo Rio.
And not have it crash like you. Oh, isn't that the one where he's a Yes!
Sorry. Yeah, that whole thing's it.
Sorry. He's the first thing he sees in the video.
What's the 9-volt battery?
Vex robot.
Oh, we need that one.
The full Vex.
Which compressor are you? Air compressor, compressor, compressor old.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Oh, good job. You got a robo Rio and you didn't break the computer. Yeah, mine is clearly just colored everything. It's just white. Okay. We got talent. Oh, we got amazing how you have a mouse and the ability to click and search and find things. Surprisingly, I'm pretty sure that's an ability you have. I think one of them's called Battery. Pretty sure it's in the 610 library somewhere.
Alan, do you CAD
Do I CAD bumpers? So when I CAD bumpers, I never CAD the actual like holes, fabric or anything. We just take a big square, wrap it around the robot, then put 2 big giant skeletal around the edges, and then we have bumpers. And then we get about the right thickness.
Alan, we need to have, we can't just be like empty, like the goofy spaces.
Well, it's not empty, it's just solid. And then I assign 20 pounds to it, so it knows it's the right weight.
Alan, we can't have that, we have to like, we can't just
Alan,
make people like
why does Sam have a break? Get a snack break.
Stop nagging.
Why can't we have snack
Computer lab.
breaks?
First day on the team, Mary.
But we didn't get
Alan, finally get a refreshment. Finally get a refreshment.
That's our first question.
We're so happy.
We're senpai.
We order them around.
That's our first question.
We'll be like, change the lights on.
Like,
Well.
too much fresh.
Stop calling it Extrude Cut.
We eat here like
No, we're gonna not be allowed to use this place.
it's really changed. It used to be like freshman. My hands are so cold. Your hands
You're plugging his face. Put it on the belly fan.
Alan, look. I'm flipping it. Don't flip the knife.
What?
I'm too bad.
8-slot cereal. I'm sure you never put on 2 batteries. Why are you false? Why are you putting horrible lies?
By me, she's up on. I saw what happened.
You know that's not what happened.
See? Why do you work? It's not. Yeah, my mom's Italian. I cooked one.
It makes you freeze, it makes me lose. Right. I know. But yeah, that's where you attach the motor and power. There's probably one in the library. Almost there is. It's either in the 600 or it's in the clear parts. You can also find like Grab CAD is a website that has a bunch of CAD models. Probably don't want to find an image search for it.
There should be a CAD file. Oh, no,
I got
there's the file.
I want a huge fan, so it can be like perfect.
It's like sprinkles.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkles?
Sprinkles.
Sprinkle? Sprinkle.
Wow.
There were many movies.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle letters. No S. Sprinkle letters. Sprinkle for an S for an. No, it's when you do sprinkle and then you put an apostrophe and then another S. Sprinkles is.
Where does that have to be?
How do I know which way the...
What changed from sprinkle from infrared? Why do we pretend?
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah.
The 4775 that we pulled from there.
So can I recreate it? Like put all the gears on?
Because you're so to... Because he didn't mention that number 15. No one like upped it about it. He's so sad.
Dude, I mean, no one's talking about it at all. They're talking about like a robot catching cables.
Yeah, I just don't like why.
Apparently no one cares. But we can reference it back. It's useful to be on there because then the next time someone's like, 6-inch pump breakers, we just link back to that point and be like, 6-inch nothing! 4 horsepower don't pump breakers. Okay, so.
It'd be funny if it said special account like crazy.
That doesn't play yet.
Are we?
Oh, that's something with the computer. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's not solid. Alright, we're good.
Wait, Alan, which way does the fan
Probably
go
I'll
here?
give you a. The side with the shroud. Down. Is the side that is here. Yeah, we're gonna.
What? Which way is Oh wait, is that on? Wait, is that underneath?
So the side that has like a little line arcing down is not part of the pan.
Why? Do you see? I think I'm gonna drill a hole through the towel. No, you guys don't.
So that side is that side. So that's the side that's
No, yeah, you put it on top of the towel.
not all the one that we have.
The whole sheet right here. Wait, there's just please tell you put the holes on top of the towel itself.
Okay, we're about to show a new thing in just a second. Let me.
Yep, that's awkward.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and pause where you're at real fast.
There's no Jose.
Wait, someone's on the phone. Hold on. We're gonna wait for Jose to be off the phone. All right, we're off the phone. All right. So, go ahead and do new part. We're going to walk through, everybody pause where you're at and do new part. We're going to show you how to do drawings now. So we've talked about part files and we talked about assemblies. The last thing we haven't talked about are drawings. Drawings, how we go back the other way. So we basically start with 2D sketches, we make everything 3D, we get assemblies of 3D parts, and now we're going to actually show how to make drawings that are back to 2D that you can print out, and this is what we have to give to machine shops and things for them to actually make the part, is they use drawings. So quickly, let's make a whatever we want. Let's make a weird square. So let's not make, or not a square, let's make something slightly odd shaped. Let's make like an L. So take two squares, put them next to each other, and cut out that middle line. However you want to do it. The Trim Entities tool works really well for that. We can go right through. Now we have this L. I don't really care what size it is. Just get to something that looks kind of like that. And then let's put a hole through it. So we'll generate another sketch. Yeah, go ahead and extrude it. I made mine an inch deep. It doesn't really matter what you make yours. And then make a hole and make these dimensions from the edge something reasonable, like inch and inch, or maybe 1.5. That'll work for ours. All right. So now I just have a hole that I drew. And then features Extrude Cut takes it all the way through it if we do through all. Okay. So we get to something like this, and then we'll show you how drawings work. Yeah, dimension it from the sides. Doesn't matter what size the hole is. You can make it 1/2 inch or whatever. And then dimension it from the sides to something nice. So like in here, I have a 1/2 inch hole that's 1.5 inch from this side and 1 inch from this side. So, smart dimension. Then you click on the line, then you click on the dot center. Click on the line, click on the dot center.
Oh wait, not bad.
This is a drawing, right? This is a drawing, right?
Is it a part?
It's a part.
No, it's a
Yeah, we start with a part. We're going to show you how to make drawings. This is a part. Drawings won't make any sense right now until you have a part. Get in there. Get in there. Anybody? Do you guys have parts? Are you getting them? Good. Still working on it. Everybody have something with a hole in it? Getting close. So you have to do that in the sketch, Mary, if you're dimensioning it. So before you cut it, you have to do it in the actual sketch. So you can come over here to your cut, and then you can right-click on the sketch and do Edit Sketch. Then you can dimension everything. the outer rail, the outer rail and the belly pin are all one part. So we did that first. Smart dimension, then you click from one of the lines to the center of the hole, then you do it again for the other one. So, okay, I'll do it again. So like right now, I can drag this around right now because I don't have it smart dimension from the top. So if you click smart dimension, you click the top line, then you click the center of the hole, then you can drag it out, and you can put in the dimension you want. Yeah. All right. People have holes. Not everybody has holes yet. Did you click the smart dimension tool?
Yeah, so you already have this one defined, so you want to come up with this one. We already have that dimension, so now you want to do the other axis, right? So like this is you say this is the X, and I want to do Y. No, if you make it nice dimensions, you'll see the dimensions will come out nicer in the drawing, but it'll work either way, even if it's not.
But either way, we should learn how to do this because you want to make sure that you can put a hole in the right spot at some point. Okay, so once everybody has a hole, which I think everybody about does, anybody not have a block with a hole in it? Mary, make it to where it actually has a hole, get back out of your part and everything. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and save this. Save it as whatever you want. L with hole, sure. Okay, so we have that saved. Now we're going to come up, once it's fully saved, we're going to hit the little arrow next to the new button up here. Either that or you can do File. So there's an arrow next to the new button that says New, Make Drawing from Part Assembly, or you can do File. But the biggest thing we want to do, Make Drawing from Part. And when we quit that, it's going to generate a new drawing file for us. Your guys is going to look different than mine because mine's set up with a Solarcraft template. So you're going to have to select a template. Go ahead and let me see what are the default options you should have.
Yeah, it should show only standard formats. You can change different options, but Annotations, landscape,
AMC landscape should be fine. That gets you onto a normal sheet of paper. Yeah, if you get a landscape, you should be fine.
Oh.
Cancel. This is your drawing, right? Oh, yeah. Now do new that button now. Make drawing before you do it. And then check that. And then against landscape.
okay. So yeah, if you can select AMC landscape, does everybody find that option? There's a little box that may say show only standard formats. Uncheck that because that only shows ISO formatted sheets. Size A is something you can most of the time print on or get close to printing on. Okay, so eventually, so the standard ones are kind of bland. This is what one for an actual company would look like. So this is what we actually, for every laser cut part we make on Spectrum, we have to make a drawing that shows, that goes through quite a few steps on what they're going to do with the process, talks about what the material is, how it gets finished, the different process it goes through, whether it's going to be laser, then bent, and all of that kind of stuff. So you can have a bunch of different formats if you want to do that. I'm going to see if I can make. Okay, so I'm going to make a new sheet that's the same as what you guys should have. Okay, so you guys should have this sheet or something very close to this. We're going to click off over, we haven't actually used the right side of the screen very much, but over here there's a button, the fifth one down, and this brings in our view palette. And you can actually, you'll kind of notice that these are all different views of the part that we just made. So I can bring in the top view, and then off to here we can show different projections. Oh, it's going to let me, actually that's just going to let me select different projections. And then we can bring in different views for it if we want. Let's see, I should be able to, let's see, yeah, so if you, in the view layout tab, one of them is called project view. If you click on that and you already have a view, it'll project down differently. So you can see, like, you can basically see that this would be the side view. This would be from the other side. We can go other places. This will come out and project up to the top like that. So you can get several different views of the part, and so it would be like putting it actually in 3D. Alright, so you can see with something like this, you'd be able to fully recreate this part once you actually put dimensions on it. So right now there's no dimensions or anything, so you go to the Annotations tab, and just like we use Smart Dimensions in the sketch, we can use Smart Dimensions here, and we can draw out all the different dimensions that this part exists on, including drawing in the hole dimensions. So we can draw every dimension that you would need to make the part, which there are quite a few of. You can also get thickness. It will let you do things in multiple places, but you don't really need to. As long as everything's fully defined, you'll be pretty okay. So the idea when you're making drawings is to give every dimension that anyone would need to be able to fully recreate the part. So the only thing I think I'm missing from this drawing would be the actual hole diameter, which if you just click the hole, it'll let you do. Yeah, so if we were to print this out, we could hand this to somebody and they could now make that part. So this is a lot of how we did parts in 2012 when we would generate stuff. We did it this way. A couple things to notice though. If you click on any of the views and you scroll down here, it'll tell it, you can choose what the scale is. So right now the sheet scale is set to 1:4. So this part is 4 times smaller than it would be in real life. If you say custom scale, you can jack it up to 1:1. Now it's huge and hard to see where everything is. But if you wanted to be able to make this and actually just print it out, tape it down to a sheet of paper and cut it out, you want to make sure your scale's at 1:1. Otherwise you'll need to use, you would need to use a ruler to measure and get the scale up from 1 to 4. So you multiply everything by 4. Does that all make sense? Do people have drawings with dimensions? It should be relatively easy, but basically learning how to actually give the right dimension so somebody can make it and not leaving any out. Like whoever is manufacturing the part, especially if it's not you, will get very annoyed at some point when you forget to give them a dimension, especially when you have a lot of different holes, when you start getting into weird angles. We did that a lot in 2012 where like Ruth would be really mad at me because she was like, no, you did not give me that part. And then I eventually, she learned to just go onto the computer and measure herself and find the right dimension that she needed. But I didn't always do it properly on the drawings. Let's see. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you may want to actually edit this, like what's called the title block down here. To do that, you right-click on the sheet and you hit Edit Sheet Format, and you can add things into the title block. You can move things around, but you don't need to do that most of the time. A lot of times, you can just go back into Edit Sheet, and you can add a note, and you can write in whatever you want. Would. And then we can put, is there a material place in this? I don't know if there is. This thing doesn't have a place for material, so that's not useful. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So yeah, so you can add annotations, so you can fill in the boxes. You can add your initials, date, title, whatever the part's going to be. You can change the revision. All of that kind of stuff can go down there. So you can have a bunch of information about the part. If you calculate the weight of the actual model, you can put the weight in there. So then if you were to add it all up, you'd actually know what weight your robot was going to be before you had to put it on the scale. Any questions about drawings? If for like when we make a sheet metal part, every single thing, because the biggest thing that we do, and we'll talk about this tomorrow when we do sheet metal stuff, is you have to call out every single bend, because the laser cutter will have all the CAD files of the flat parts, and it'll do all of that. But there's an actual person operating the sheet metal brake, and they have to program in every bend from the drawing, and then they have to actually bend it. So if your drawings aren't right, your part's not going to be bent correctly. It'll come out of the laser right, but it won't be bent right. Any questions about drawings at all? We'll do a little bit more of this tomorrow after we do some more sheet metal stuff. Well, actually probably Saturday when we do some sheet metal stuff, because sheet metal is going to take a while tomorrow. Because we actually have to go over the basics of sheet metal and how it all works. Okay, so we can basically that was the most, drawings are pretty fast if that's all you need to do with them. When you start getting into more complicated stuff, it'll get annoying. Okay, so what can we need to start adding more stuff to the assembly, except not just parts. What can we put in there? So we need to modify some stuff. So let's see if we can do something a little bit more complex than what we've been doing. So this will take a while. So we have about an hour and a half left. Okay, so on the VexPro website, on the Drive in a Day website, they have this chassis configured in a different way that uses, instead of having the motors mounted straight to the chassis, they mount it to this gearbox, which I can show you where the gearbox is. In Gears and Gearbox, there's a single speed dual reduction gearbox. And there are CAD files for that gearbox, and there are mounting holes already in the rail. But the tricky bit is we're actually going to have to rotate the rail around, because right now we have it to where the C is facing the inside, but in this one the C is facing the outside, so they're actually the same on both sides. So we'll need to rotate the rail around. We'll need to actually download the CAD file for this gearbox and get it mounted in there. And then we can mount the wheels if we want to actually move to a 6-wheel drive instead of just the 4-wheel drive that we had. But the biggest part is getting the gearbox in, getting the rail moved around, and then actually we'll probably need to cut part of the belly pan, because I'm pretty sure this is going to go under and hit the belly pan. So we'll want to figure out how to actually make the cut so that we can get it out to where we'd actually be able to install the gearbox with the belly pan the way we had it. So this is like, oh no, drastic design change. Week 1, we decided we don't like our drivetrain and we're making it something else. How fast can you change the CAD so we can start producing a belly pan? Go. Do it. Yes. Go. Going to the bathroom is not what I meant by go and do it. Single speed, double reduction gearbox. VexPro. CAD file. single speed double reduction gearbox. We don't actually own one of these.
Also, won't be in the constant.
No. So I've never used it.
Would 610 have?
Is there a good reason for what you do?
610 might, I don't know. Is there a good reason why we shouldn't use it? We just never have because it uses a double reduction, so it's slightly less efficient than a single gear. So we just use pinions and big gears. And then we used the single speeds last year and we made our own single speeds. Ooh, we have Omni wheels that on the robot.
Oh, yeah,
We have Omni wheels and I bought belts. Replace belts and put on the robot. Before round up. Oh my god, it's not all the wheels. It's way worse.
I won't be here on Tuesday because I left my oven on
Yeah, they'll be rubbing on. Sarah.
Download the single speed, single reduction, or double reduction gearbox. Get it to where it's a file and save it.
How much is the step files?
No, I'm going to give you this. On the real robot, I'm going to tell you, no, put a single speed double reduction gearbox on the robot, and you're not going to do it. What?
I respectfully do it.
Put a single speed double reduction gearbox on the robot. Do it.
How much is the step file?
Open the step file. And save it. And I'll save it in the part.
Look at the program called this install.
Yep, like in SolidWorks open. File open.
Okay.
It's on the end.
It's not showing up.
Hey. Next Pro. Single speed double reduction
It's not
gearbox.
showing up on the desktop. It won't like show step files.
Extract the zip file.
I do. It won't show the step file. That is
Is that working? One or two?
I should all files. Well, you guys are double dipping, so
I don't know. It's so dumb. What? You have to go download it. On the next Pro website. Single speed, double reduction, gearbox, download. I don't know how many more times I can say this.
I forget easily.
So where do we download it?
Single speed, double reduction, gearbox, next Pro website. Find, download.
Like, is it this?
Is it that? Is that a single speed, double reduction gearbox?
Yeah.
Those are the words across the thing.
Alan, should I use Future
Probably
Works?
right. You're smart people. I don't need to confirm
Should I
everything
use
for you.
Future Works?
Should you use FeatureWorks?
Whoa, they
Probably
start at
not.
$0.
If you want nothing, they will gladly ship you nothing for $0.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Make that.
They'll have to pay for shipping.
But
Yeah, but they should for empty box, yeah.
That's so lame.
I imagine you could probably get them to do that, but I don't think they would guide you.
But can you spend enough money on nothing?
Single speed double reduction.
Single what?
Okay.
Single reduction, double reduction.
the single speed double
It
reduction.
still didn't work?
Gearbox. Single speed double reduction.
Do that again, except don't double click, just hit open. This may actually be the problem, which if that's actually the problem, man, that'll be really weird. I've never seen that problem. Wait, what problem? Dude, I can click on it and hit open. You know, it's still good.
Alan, where's the view?
Oh, you tried to insert it. That one.
Oh, so if you have to go through it.
Yeah, so anytime you have a, okay, so yeah, this is good to know. Anytime you have a step file, you have to open it first, like you file open the step file, it'll do the whole import part, then you have to save it as a part, then you can insert it.
Oh.
Okay. That is the part.
What did you do again? Sorry.
File open.
Down there, there's an option for you to go to all files. And then go in. And click on it. And then go that way.
Something or tables, like the drive.
So you're modifying the chassis you already have, and you're putting that gearbox in. So if you go, oh, okay, right. So if you go to 2014 Drive in a Day, so the 2014 Drive in a Day website on VexPro has the picture of what we're trying to make. You scroll down. That one.
If you don't have it,
2014 Drive in a Day on VexPro has the picture of what we're trying to make.
that's like 2 cents.
Honestly, I have to
It's like what? That's like 2 cents.
Oh, yes.
How do you undo
2 cents.
Undo that means you delete them.
Then when I keep
It might move it. All right, that's a different one actually.
Oh.
Hit back. Go to the one next to that one. So that's the 3-sim ball shifter.
This one?
That one. Yeah. There we go. Because the 3-sim ball shifter will be much more complicated if you want to try to do it.
We're going to do a piston ball.
If you wanted to, it would be much more complicated. That doesn't seem right. You're moving the front now.
Why is that
Exactly, you want to fix.
Alan, wait.
Oh, right, say that. And faster.
Like it needs.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Guys, come on. You trust in us. You can't just betray us. You guys are this is a computer lab. You get bumped to
how long are we
Also, Michael up there. On the picture.
Hi, Alan. We weren't eating.
We weren't.
That's why I said we weren't.
Good. Don't say we weren't. Still gonna think we are. We're gonna be in trouble.
Because everyone assumes you're doing something
Legitimately,
that
no.
you
Like, we will get kicked out. Stop.
Okay, Alan, ready now?
File open. Okay.
Alan, where do the holes go?
That's good to all.
Alan, where do the holes go?
By the way, everything should be.
So you have to move, you have to flip the inner rails around, and then the holes go in.
We really don't want to.
You really have to do it. That's the whole point, is you have to modify the chassis.
The whole point is that it's not easy.
I mean, if you're part of that, you don't want to do it.
How did you do?
Now you do file open. Did you file open?
Doesn't move.
And you have to open, so anytime it's a step file, you have to open it first.
No.
So next to that, you file open.
I mean, maybe not. I'm not sure.
It's a zip file. Okay, extract that one. So now, yeah, I'm gonna file open.
There's random things on this chassis that aren't symmetrical.
Okay, so this will go here, you go to all files. That's not symmetrical?
That triangle bracket there is not existing.
Okay, so the thing we were modifying was just their sample thing of this is all the parts you can buy.
So it's just
It was just one of each thing. It was just one of each thing. Well, besides the actual rail. Yeah. The accessories were just
That's an accessory?
yes, you don't actually, you can just get rid of it. Like, had we built this chassis, we would not have those brand new material.
I thought
We would just try to. We would have, it cost like $10 a piece, that was fine.
That's like $6.
The actual chassis itself, like the 6 and 4th rail is like $100 for me.
Oh.
But it's, that was actually worth it. The accessories. We're gonna put a belly pan on it, we're gonna do a something. And what you bring up? Did you save it?
Oh, yeah.
What did you do?
That's like,
You're
you're right.
Your robot's far out of dimension, that's way too big. It is huge, because it's not good. Not good. Not good. Still not good.
Still going on.
Still bad.
I don't know why.
Bad.
Yeah.
It's a good task, but now it makes it very difficult. I was selling drivetrain systems.
Alan. My judgment.
The rail. What's the rail on?
Both of them.
The two inner ones need to be like,
That's actually what you
it's possibly even swap.
Oh.
You don't have to swap anything, just rotate it.
I'm gonna try it, but like,
Could just swap it.
I mean, that sounds a lot easier.
Yeah, swapping them is probably much easier task, but as long as you're doing the same thing, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, so.
Yes.
How come I don't have a float as an
So this right now is inserted as a whole part. So to make that work, you have to edit part first. I can edit the assembly, and now but actually everything's gonna move, so you probably want to fix everything else before you try and mess with it.
It's beautiful.
I was feeling you did a lot of celebrations. What did you do? Oh no, it's okay. And it's like every minute of my entire day before I jump into it. Oh, today was a really bad one. There was like this crazy thing that decided it was gonna fail, and then the only way to fix it was to like save everything into a different folder, then just reopen it online. Like I didn't break anything, it just like broke everything. It was really annoying. So we were doing complex stuff.
So this feeling.
Maybe like, or you can just like.
No, look how amazing.
Also, I think I'm looking at something.
Never go.
I feel like where did it go?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, listen, you guys. Oh, you can't got removed. Nope, I know what's that.
Which one is this? Is it?
It's like a 30-second delay. That's like
Stop playing the camera.
But it's about 1.5.
yeah, well, I can quickly. I don't know what happened to my assembly.
You should find it.
Well, let's say it is assembly one.
Wait, you just
Okay, there's no other solid stuff, so oh, you don't want the part. What is it
It will. It doesn't always know how to open the next. It doesn't know how to. Windows doesn't always know that there's new files. It doesn't communicate very well. But yeah, so sometimes you have to use up the hide.
Al, you know the weird thing that happened when remember the deletes and typing. That happened. Remember when we tried to take something and looking at
Vaguely remember that?
I have to fix it.
Yeah.
No,
I don't remember that.
cut off potential.
That's always gonna stop.
So everything disappears.
Yes, Al, look up.
Stop.
Yeah. All I know is that now.
I heard my friends tell me how to use it. Yeah. Especially with that big project.
I have TBSE. Oh yeah, yes, and I'm taking that from like plus I signed up for like a bunch of APs. And either every day and it's like
Every day. You get home at like 9.
Oh, here. So if you just, yeah, so anytime that happens, right click open part, and then just exit out of it, the second X down there.
I think I did it.
Yes. Good job.
Then you can
I think I did it.
Right click and open part somewhere along the right side. Close, exit, part. Right click.
I heard
I don't know why it's doing it. It's never happened on my computer.
the class, right? Some teachers are, no, actually, never mind. That doesn't happen. I did all the homework.
Really?
Yep. And sometimes they said the only class that I couldn't finish homework would take long with recount because you did like a math problem. Other than that, good morning.
Let's get to study. So
Yeah, that's what makes grades are suffering. Getting low 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You can see this over here. So we can click it. We can see
So back with the kids stuff.
so you're in the same place. So click go back to So this is the main assembly. This is the whole, this right now is the whole part. So you have to edit this part at the assembly. So now we're all included in the same assembly. So now you can do the same everything inside of that.
Now that it found what it Okay.
I don't know why that's happening. I have no clue, but it fixes it. So
Why did you insert the component today? Because it doesn't allow me to. Because I have the component right
Ask
What's wrong?
I can't insert my the component into.
Did you save it?
Oh no, sorry. That
Or
works
is it
pretty
okay?
last.
There's a wheel in here.
Where you back on that?
I have it here. I'm trying to figure out how this is not something.
Oh, go to the 2014 driver page on that. Did you save it? Did you save the gearbox? Did you open the gearbox? Like, did you import the subfile?
I feel like this is the wrong chassis.
I'll drag it around here.
So it's still, it doesn't start.
Wrong chassis. What else is in this chassis?
See, that is something that inserts that part.
Yeah, it disappeared.
Right. So I don't know why this is happening, but this is apparently a new thing that Solvers is deciding to do. So whenever it disappears, right click on part, then open part, X, save, reload and save. I don't know why it's doing this. It's never happened to me.
Now my belly pad stopped being a motion.
You should probably fix that.
Like, I think
I did it.
It was referenced to things. So when you put it back, it should be okay.
Oh, I did it.
You flip the rail? The other rail? In both? Okay. No, both. That's really good. And then you have to figure out how to cut a hole out from your belly pan to let the motor actually be in there for real. It's so easy.
I don't like drawing this. I like assembly.
It's like drawing a square.
thing I do gives me error messages.
You're probably doing something else.
I have seen around.
I enjoy the cheap.
Yeah, you can manage to make a lot here. So you're testing mates somehow. So all of your mates are getting broken because the mates on the belly can't get broken.
Well, I mean, it looks fine.
Yeah, you should be okay, but then you just want to go in and delete these mates and fix where they are. So you can right click on them, you edit feature, and it can tell you basically what's going on.
Versus you.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. So it's saying these
So while they're
can't be concentric for some reason. No, it's actually letting you. But it's not actually.
See, that's what you said.
So you can just delete that. No, these are bad. These are just random points that I don't think you have any use for. I'm hanging down random points. Okay, so now you won't have any. Yeah, so now you won't have any errors. So anytime you come up to errors, just find where the bad ones are and delete them, and you'll be back. And then, or re-put them in if there's something you actually didn't need.
He was busy with what?
Imported this. Right?
Like search thing. Oh, we're supposed to be in that. But gearbox.
What is the gearbox?
Where's the gearbox here? Look on the, or look at Nancy next to you, but also look at the 2014 driving day thing on my screen. See the picture of it.
So now you have to edit this directly.
How do you put it in? Go look at the gearbox features, just what you see on the right. So there's some mounting holes. So.
I had my own problems.
That is inside the wheel. Oh. Wait, but that you flip. You did flip them. You flipped the other one. So you only have one side. Okay. Yeah. Two sides. Two gearboxes. Man, why is this happening? Right click open part.
Yeah, up on the bottom. Her part should be open right now.
Oh, what the heck?
And I opened it for her. She imported the assembly to a different assembly.
Now she like didn't
But that's just a single part.
I know, but she lost her whole chassis.
Oh. That's weird.
So you have to make it not rotate, because there are mounting holes that are designed for it. So you should make a couple other holes concentric. You flipped the rail the wrong way. So now you need to take it and flip it like this. Flip it this way.
I know, but I already made it.
Then this is just more practice with dealing with mates.
Wait, that's flipped the wrong way?
Mates are the best. Mates make things that move around.
Wait, how's that flipped the wrong way?
It's the holes up. It's like the center drop, right? So like the center drop.
Oh, it got rotated.
Yeah, so if you want to put the motor upside down, it will work.
She can't.
No,
Because
because the center will be up high. We know how bad that is. Center will drop proper.
Except for those two that you need to fix. Yeah. Disappear, and then you have to go in, and you have to open here, and you exit out and say.
I do not know why that is happening. I really wish I did. It's never happened to me before, but it's doing it on all of these computers. The random disappearance of all of the parts.
Like it's not actually like deleting it,
It's just not showing it.
Error.
Hey, Joe, error messages not
Error.
Just put in
Nice.
error.
Maybe something.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
Oh, I can see that.
It's still stuck where it is. It's somehow, I did it somewhere, now it's.
That's where the
giving me-
That was not good.
Now
Let's
you
spin together.
okay, first of all, I have
And then X.
the all we needed was some like first
Part of that flip.
Wait, this is a new problem. Parts didn't come back this time. This has never happened. They've always come back.
Okay, that's your belly pan.
See, you can tell the
Exactly. Control B and the little zoom thing.
not. Okay.
No. What are you doing?
How do you
Unflip what?
how do you make the flip?
Maybe it float. So he has this imported as a part, so you have to right click on the assembly there, and the right click and do edit part or edit assembly. And now you're editing after something tonight, you're automatically stuff, but check actually make sure things aren't fixed. So I imagine right now, I imagine they're not fixed, right? Yeah. But now you're gonna fix it. And then it's gonna give you that horrible error. Why is this a thing that happens?
How does it avoid this?
Okay, so we're going to shift click everything. Like,
I'm speaking.
okay, so now everything is fixed. And we come in here and we can right click and do float. I actually forgot about this. I knew about it earlier. I just never haven't talked about it. Next to the part, if you have it fixed, there'll be a little parenthesis F. And if you have it float, there won't be a parenthesis F. You can actually tell just by looking at the part of the feature tree whether it's fixed. Should there be a bearing there? No, it's the bearing feature mark. There should be a bearing on the other side. There should be a bearing there.
What the heck shut this on?
Oh, God.
Next step is upon it. Austin doesn't know this one.
Wait, how do you different?
First of all, is this
This the rail has been so it will reach.
Well, I don't want to fix it.
Oh, which one was the gearbox going?
yeah.
The one that makes sense. This one. Probably. Otherwise, you're having to like jam it through a piece of metal. And
I can do that
normally
first.
works very poorly.
Why did it delete one part? It's supposed to delete the whole thing. Where did it delete the whole thing? Open gearbox.
That's not good.
It's not very good.
Wait, why did you delete the gearbox?
Because if I ever try to control the speed, so it doesn't
Why are you trying to right? And delete the gearbox, you have to right come over here to the actual assembly to delete it. You want to delete it. Like, this is the assembly, you right click on this. Down there.
And now we're left. I need to do something.
You still like forget about that. We'll do it later. Okay. Let's go. Try to flip the.
Because my belly pan. That's my belly.
What did you do to your belly pan?
I don't know.
You love to reference this like
I did.
references. I show you how to break references and break the in-place made stuff.
You did?
Yeah, it's like all brand new.
We can just go through the feature tree, right?
There's nothing now.
Not now, it's reference, like, it's now small, you have to fix it again.
There's nothing now except for.
Yeah, he just needs to close the chassis, just go to the small X.
Why does CAD make the funniest mistakes?
Question.
Who wants to do next? There.
Okay, so now we're gonna take the other gearbox into the order like you're supposed to. So we're going to rotate the world. Okay, so if
I got it stuck.
So the point is this rail and this rail either need to be like physically swapped or this needs to be flipped and flipped. So basically this face, so like you see how it's the C, right? The C needs to be facing the other way.
Okay.
Because there's eventually gearbox in the middle against the flat part of it. That is a good question, right? So we want to unmate it, and then you're going to mate it back again to the right. So you go back into editing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, it must have been different things.
Because I remove the float and take out the 2 bars. It's so tiny enough.
So all we really want to do is just take it and
Yeah, I'm just gonna place it down like random.
Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go here. So you're going to stay at the top. And then you're going to
It's up.
change which folder it is. That's on this side. So the seams are on right now. But then we can actually drag it. We got here, so we're almost like in the right part. Let's get the 5 right there. And then find that hole, get there. And now we're good. Now we have that back. And that's the other way. This bottom hole is the right way. That's the one that would be facing down. So we go right there. Then you want to do that on the other part.
I'm not good at this teaching.
How do you get better? You can't get better at anything until you did do well. He's probably the whole days of not being here. That's pretty good.
CAD.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Good job, Nick.
The way to get better at anything is to teach it to other people and then do it a lot. I'm getting better at solving really random SolidWorks errors by fixing all we're doing.
How do you insert the gearbox?
The
sure
two holes.
saves.
Oh wait, where does it go, or how do you get it to the bottom?
Yeah.
Make sure
Open it up to me.
open the step file, like file, open the step file, save it as a SolidWorks part, then insert the SolidWorks part.
You're the best IC guy ever. Oh.
File open in SolidWorks. Yeah, there's big, SolidWorks needs, everything you've done in SolidWorks has to be in SolidWorks. The actual file.
I swapped both of the sides and rotated them all around.
I know you can.
Because I swapped.
But I mean, the fact that you can zoom out far.
Or zoom in, in SketchUp, I've gotten lost inside things.
Do I need to do anything?
Oh, I know exactly what
Or do I need to zoom in?
I took these where they were originally.
Maybe it's the safest bet.
I rotated them
In
to the
SketchUp,
other
like,
side.
how much it zooms in is determined by like
Oh,
the
rails.
mouse cursors on. So if you're
Oh, I did. I thought that was what you were calling it.
trying to zoom in or zoom out,
No, that's not the same part.
so you like stuck inside.
Why?
Are these still too far apart?
It becomes like.
Kind of hold on your bearing. Oh, if you could put a bearing on the other way, maybe. Yeah, they put a bearing. Well, no, put it on the outside.
Oh, why can't this be possible?
It's a big perspective.
Nice big ring. No spinning gearbox.
Make it long.
There's mounting holes for each holes. You can also use parallel.
I better
Yeah.
I want to take a class. Not a class. I'm gonna take
Come on, Mary. Just only to the stage, not the whole thing.
Yeah, it's
I need
because
to
like
make it slow.
it's kind of good. You need like you might need to know how to do not SolidWorks, but
But auto. Abhishek knows everything. So, yeah, that's huge.
No. Actually, remember this unit? Never mind.
You're so mean.
Wait, did you find the tape? Oh, by the way, Andrew made.
Over the feature tree, that says they'll show up as little clear things. Feature tree is your friend.
Oh, what's that?
Use the feature tree.
What? Question. Is this okay, like, to have these, like, going?
No, that is clearly not possible. Matter doesn't work that way.
I mean, most matters in G space though. So
Yeah,
they're
there's a chance, like one of the trillion chance that
Uh,
will pass
Your
through.
trillion number is about infinitely small.
One
And
trillion.
you're not accounting for like some, nuclear forces and things that say, no, there is zero chance you can pierce something through there. Because maybe there's not be a solid object. No, it is zero.
Not zero.
No, it is very much zero. When you combine all of the things that would have to happen for that to happen, all of their atoms,
Very
it
near-
is zero.
very near zero.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, it is actually the same as the definition of what zero should be.
0.00000 times 10. No, whatever.
1, 2, that many zeros
Zero
is
to the
actually
negative
zero.
one.
They are equivalent.
You could spend a billion lifetimes trying to get it.
They were trying to claim that the part could actually go through.
But that can't happen, ever.
Doesn't matter how much you claim that matter is empty space.
It's possible. But
It's
it's
not.
If two parts next to each other, they will not pass through each other.
So it's
How many
still
times
tries.
it will, those outs will never happen.
But I love this with equal force. It's
Neither of those things exist. And you didn't say it right. I'm pretty sure he's having an immovable force. How do you what? Have you made it? There's a couple ways. So one, you could make that plane parallel to that one. You can make those two be parallel. But you could also find them out in the left also exist. Not there. It's going to be parallel.
Why there must be a bug.
You get a little round. Yeah, there you go. You make those parallel, you can make them. That's the real way, because then that will do it. Yeah.
Why is this happening? So what do I do about this? If you think this is something possible.
Move it.
You act like it's so simple, but I just like make it like float.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that
Okay, so because this is a whole part of the assembly, so then edit the assembly. Click edit assembly. Well, you can do it there too, and then you can float it. That's an option. Perfectly reasonable.
Oh wait, no,
one.
I saw it.
Shouldn't always take the easy way. The hard way is there for a reason. The hard way makes you better.
Okay, fine, I'll take that.
Good job. The hard way.
Depends on what the hard is.
What? Your gearbox's shafts reach the outer planes. See, if you put a bearing there, it wouldn't work.
Alan, bearings don't need to touch things when they don't move.
Yeah, but that means that's.
I told you I was talking to the one on the middle. Oh my god, I was right. Oh, I was so right. Oh, you were wrong.
Now you can input the bearings.
Wait, no, then it's off from the beginning because Briggs has it the same way.
Right from the original one, but now we're putting in gearboxes. That means bearings have to
Or
change.
I go right.
Things change, man.
Nothing changes, Alan.
We're changing the whole robot configuration. Remember, when you swing the wheel, we'll get more belly pans.
Time doesn't move forward. Wait, no, it wouldn't be the fourth hole, it'd be the sixth hole. You're moving it forward. But it wouldn't be either way. It would be, I don't know. It's the sixth hole.
Why did that happen?
But is it fourth from that to either?
mouse and board. That's not good.
Alan, what's the thing under the
What? What were you trying to do?
Encoder.
Oh.
Gray Hill.
Does this need to be anywhere?
Gray Hill. Something 61, like S61 or G61. I don't know what they're in. Not it. Gray Hill.
Aaron.
No. It's his long lost cousin, Gray Hill.
Oh my gosh, Alan, this is so good.
Did you hear? Did you hear the official news about Remix? See the updated team list?
Oh, yeah, no.
No. The updated team list from today? Food for nothing. But someone else's.
Motivation.
How do you not figure that out? Wait, which state are they from?
Illinois?
Oh, whenever I said I was wearing a shirt, my dad was like, "Oh, with a bagel, I know what that is."
Why do you know where Winnebago is? Where is Winnebago? Wait a minute.
I know where that is, and I was like,
Winnovation. Oh my god, that makes so much more sense now.
Winnovation is Winnebago High School.
That makes so much more sense now.
Oh my god. There's a team named Tardis.
now what?
The new, yeah, I don't know who that is yet. It's one of the rookies. I think it's, I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's one of the KD rookies.
So spectrum. That's
It's an acronym.
Yeah.
They're using it in a different, right, they're using it in a different, there's probably.
They made the angle look.
They're using it in a different, they're probably using it in a different.
They made a lowercase letter in the middle.
You can use the word target, even though target is copyrighted in terms of like stores, but the word target is not.
Every time I see Apple, I got to.
So, do you have your belly pan still? Did you hear about State Your Belly Pan?
Alan, I like gearbox in the
But it should, you need to cut out part of your belly pan to make it not do it.
No, my belly pan's free.
I have a belly. I don't have a full. I have a belly pan.
No, you have a random piece of something.
4-inch metal underneath the bed.
Yeah.
Can you rename parts?
Yes.
I made it really bought it.
1625. When it'll be.
Oh, like, wait, do you know how to figure out how to rename first? Oh, very bad. Retype exactly what you had before. Very, very bad. Okay, no. Go back in, go into solvers. Make sure to keep your assembly open.
And now it's.
Don't hide it. Oh, you're good. Come in. Use your belly pan to assembly. Just go. What do you mean? It's not in there?
Oh, yeah.
Why is it not in the assembly? Why is it not in the assembly?
So it's actually
Why was it not in the assembly?
if you move them like
Open the assembly that has everything. Oh, wait, you put it in a second robot? Oh, you put the whole thing in a second robot.
What are you talking about?
Okay, that's fine. Go to your first, go to the new robot then. Now insert a new belly pan.
it's like the.
Because if you insert that one, it's gonna get too
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so open the old robot then, you wanna rename it. But you're gonna have to make a new one.
Right click on the belly pan and do open part.
Then you file save as. And there's several different options there to save.
That work?
And that's the only way to do it properly.
Everything else will break all the references.
What the hell just happened?
No, let's see.
That was close.
She lost everything again. What just happened?
Control B, rebuild, or the light, the green red light.
Okay. Why did it just undo that?
Control B sometimes.
He texted my mom for training. We will keep it. Okay, I'm
Nope,
sorry.
nope, Ian.
Look at my belly pan.
Go to belly pan. I know that you have that. Go belly pan. Joey showed me what going
No, my belly pan got
Oh my god, put the belly pan. Smell hard, draw square.
Where does this go? Does it go? Is it attached to this thing?
include that whole thing.
I have no idea. That's the one that.
Oh, okay.
And the
You have to right click shift, you have to edit the assembly to make the rail float. Because they're now you're editing the whole assembly, not the sub-assembly.
Done it.
Good job.
I'm here.
Cut your belly pan.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I didn't even know how. What? If you could explain that, if you could edit buttons, change the way they look.
No, it's nice to make you belly.
Because you're not really on the robot.
Also, the belly pan.
We edit the sketch. Like put a hole there.
No, you'll add a new sketch.
You could also
And then you'll do a new extrude cut, you know, like a square there. So right click and edit the belly pan. And then you'll do new sketch.
You could also try out to zoom.
Zoom in and out.
With what? With scroll
Project
wheels?
down
Like-
onto it. All your bolts down to the
Scroll wheel does.
It just
Shit.
places the talent.
That's what scroll wheel does. I don't understand what you're doing. See. Scroll wheel.
You can change the interior.
Oh yeah, we covered that a while ago. I apologize. Yes, it's actually very important to keep the material properties because then you can get weight and
It's
everything.
actually my fault. I,
Yeah, that's true. Way to drop the ball, Ian!
So I cut this.
So you made a new sketch on the, you made sure to edit the belly pan part, right?
Okay, I'll check again just in case.
You're in this. So,
Sketch.
but you want to edit part?
Maybe I'll just miss
Edit
it.
part.
And then sketch.
Yes.
Probably not right.
7:18 is one hour. Okay. We still have plenty of time to get this all finished.
do I have to figure it out?
Because you get flat plates come out. Yeah, there it is.
Fix them.
Okay.
Delete things. Don't randomly delete Or if it's those, yeah, you just delete mates. Deleting mates doesn't mean anything, you just have to remake them later.
I did it, Alex. I'm done.
You have them for both drive chains, both your buttons?
Of course, of course.
Well, there you go, there's a few ways to do it. You could,
I could
you could
copy
mirror,
the
you
names.
could, well, you copy what makes the gearbox. Yeah, that works really well. Just make sure to right click on the whole gearbox assembly and do the whole gearbox. So if I said-
Oh, it's this.
Yeah, so you right click on there.
Then I forgot to copy.
But then if you click on the, if you click on the thing, it'll show you what you need. So like you rotate the world, you'll see the
Oh,
purple,
okay.
yeah. And that'll happen just touch.
That's side, that side.
Is there a way to add a bench in the middle of this?
How did you sketch your holes?
You just move stuff from the edge.
Oh, or are they reference to the other ones?
Actually, doesn't represent this from there, though.
Yeah, if they're reference to other holes, it doesn't matter. Yes, yeah.
How do you make it so that this point goes
Control click both points and place it. Oh, I can do what you're doing. I'm not sure what you're doing.
Yeah.
That was one,
No.
that was the need.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't saying good job.
Yeah.
I was ready myself.
Well, I know you would. That's why I said.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Thank you.
You're so nice.
Only the end.
Only the end?
Yeah, only next game.
Okay.
Aww.
I knew that everyone was.
It's because he makes the best puns.
Is that a pun or not?
It was the fun.
That's the
Only
pun.
Only your imagination.
Just, that's it. Okay, ignore that.
My shoulder out.
Tired last stop thing. My shoulder.
It's on my shoulder. My shoulder up.
Battery. No. It's against the law.
Hitting older people.
Hitting anyone's battery. Your battery. You have both holes cut and you have the gearbox mounted.
I don't need to do anything else.
You have this where the bearings will reach? Will the bearings reach the shaft?
I thought it wouldn't tell you the things that are physically impossible.
Yes.
That's a point.
Because it's saying
You do?
this is impossible.
So put in bearings.
Tell them what find the
And we can put in. You can put in wheels. You can put in.
Fine.
Let's show like that. Sorry, go
What
look.
dimensions?
Right click on the top assembly and do edit assembly, the second one. So yeah, that one. Because so that's a part of the first assembly. So then also make sure that you have, you probably actually have nothing's fixed. So actually what you want to do is you want to fix everything else. Right now you're going to be able to drag all the parts. Everything right now is fixed. I don't think you did. You fixed you fixed the whole thing at some point. So you see over here, you see how there's an F there? So that means that the whole assembly is fixed and there's an F here. But the individual parts aren't. So if you come in and you do with the shift click, and then it's going to be mad. Apparently, that's a new thing you can do. Okay, but then you can come in and you can. Okay, so.
You're a flange. What looks like
This is such a hard So now this will float. Okay, so to flip this around, because all we want to do is you want to take it and we want to twist it. Right? So what you're going to do is you're going to make this to like the underside there, because that's what it'll really be. And then the fast way to flip it is just make one of these holes to the hole opposite over here, and then, and then do the same thing with that hole on the other side.
Yeah. She almost lost a picture. So this wasn't like the real. Yeah. It's easy to move easy.
I saw that.
So you're making people.
Yeah, so just make sure you right click on that and do edit part. Edit part. To the right, that one. Edit. And then do new sketch.
The flange goes in the inside door.
So,
Up from the one.
all the
Oh, on the inside one. So all the flanges manually selecting, yeah. For the flanges.
Which part is the flange?
like the what?
Flange is the thing that.
The thin part, right?
Yeah.
The thin pancake.
Why are we brushing with pancakes? What is your obsession with food? What just happened? None of that description made any sense whatsoever. You went in the thing making on top of a mushroom. It literally didn't make any sense.
Okay.
He's talking about the
This
This is a C. This is a C channel of a rail.
Okay.
This is a C channel of a rail. Your box is over here.
this perspective.
It doesn't matter which way it is, still called a C channel. I don't know how the letter works. Plus, I'm just like, all of them are C's.
Now it's the U channel.
U channels are the same dimension on all the sides.
Oh.
C channels.
Maybe. Thin part.
So this is the C. This is the plan. This is the plan.
Oh.
This is the base. This is the base sheet metal, right? This is like the base. Then you have an edge flange and edge flange. We'll get that tomorrow.
Flange or the pair?
The flange of the bearing
Yes, that's
is totally different. Then I have no idea where you got mushroom from. But whatever. Alright, there's a bearing. The flange is the little tiny round part that sticks out. In this case, it should be on the inside of the wheel wells, because otherwise it would be able to fall out.
okay, good. I'll just check.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh, they can kill them.
I was so close. I got one of them.
I know.
Yes, you did.
And you're in a park.
Oh, yeah, the end is like, oh.
Okay. Keep her zoomed off screen.
I'm so good at CAD. That's just how I
Okay, so you can't consume, this sketch is already consumed by Extrude Cut. So they can, and now we just right click that and now in select the contour.
even the populations aren't
They're short. See, that's the count. Short pockets are like
Where's the belly button? Okay, no, but mine is gone. Mine is gone. I have a pocket.
this far. It's gone.
Yeah.
Yours is still there.
Oh, that's impressive. Open one of the parts. Is it wide? Is this one of your Your whole this is straight on. And you see that you can see a hole there? So up here, you somehow manage
I can't carry my phone charger.
is not.
I say that would be
Inside.
I got it. I just
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that is definitely, that was a weird issue.
Toy Story, when she's like, it's like a deer head, and she's like packing all her toys and stuff for the trip. Like, it's like that makes it hard. Put stuff inside my rack.
Except, so, you're in a life. You want to cut all the way through it. And you're going to have to make this with like tools. There's no point in drilling those holes. So just cut all the way through those holes. Yes. So edit the cut. Make it better. Make it like it would look on a real robot. Do you have gearboxes? Not awfully tilted. Why are you awfully tilted? Put it in not awfully tilted.
I have not super one.
Where did you put it? Oh, she's still making other things. Other things move. You have full power over this world. You can do whatever you want. So that shaft hole, rotate back up. Yeah, rotate back. Let me tell you what you're doing. Put that shaft into the big hole. and then it'll all be straight up and down. There's a picture on the website. That's how it works. But then you can get rid of things too. Feel free to move and delete. You have all the power.
Yeah, do that. Okay, I've got the phone. So that doesn't go through it.
Nice. Wait.
What else do you want to add to this robot? Slightly more complete.
Actually, check this too.
Oh, I'm gonna put four, instead of wheeling, put four fans. It's gonna hover.
It's your gear box. And also the fans don't have to use near enough to run. You need like brushless motors. And then make them.
3 fans. 12 fans. 3 of them stack on top of each other on each corner.
No, what would be the opposite? No, give the bondage less air or something.
It doesn't support me.
This is made to throw it. If you made the robot light enough, maybe with a couple leaf blowers. Put leaf blowers in there and then make a skirt. If you made it, I'm telling somebody one day is gonna make a hoverboard. We saw a leaf blower in 2013. Leaf blower in 2013. You kind of never saw it. There was a robot, there's a leaf blower, push and disc, and it's the coolest thing ever. It's hard to find. Like, it's not easy to find. I don't know where I got it. We were just like watching a match or something. But it literally has this like 3-disc revolver thing that shoots a disc straight up near flat. So imagine taking a spinning disc like a coin, spinning in the air, and then there's a leaf blower, and it blows it short. The crazy part though is the 3-point goal is 12 inches tall. A frisbee is 11 and a half. They managed to get it in. It is marvelous.
I told you to
It is absolutely amazing. I never thought of it. I think it's going a lot because it's slow. Frisbee single most genius way ever to just work. Because when they shoot it, like, if they just take their shooter and tilted it down, it wouldn't work. They turned the thing like 12 feet in the air.
but it's gone. It just disappears when you're crossing
What if fly?
Yeah, so it should.
Not what they did. Not what they did. We're gonna work it live with
There's all these files.
When I think about it, I don't care how good our Russians, we have to add a leaf blower somehow.
I think it was one of those ones where it was like, oh, we don't want to make this launch thing, except we want to put this 30.5 where it takes up the other, all of our robots, so the launch has to be like this. So they like made this launch, which is this vertical, with like a leaf blower. I think they tried that 30.5, but everybody 30.5 broke. Or didn't work. Yeah, last year I had some demonstrations. Did you ever see the video of the test one where they grabbed a corner of the pyramid and then reverse curled and grabbed the corner of the pyramid and did it again?
That sounds scary.
They never did it on a real field. There were several that got on the practice field and got very close. So completely cantilevered 150 pounds or whatever, 90 pounds, whatever the warlock was. Awful pyramid. Terrifying. Terrifying. But they're really good engineering. They were really good. Plus, it was most times you just pull the pyramid apart from. Like, the pyramid was not built that well.
Some fans.
Why do you make it? That's something reasonable. Like, it's like mounting brackets or something. Like, you don't know. Compromise.
That's too hard.
This is the chassis that they built for Build List.
Oh.
It's like the juju goes right on it because it's designed like maybe in robot Build List.
That must have been great.
Just like smash it onto the
Underneath
You
it.
can bumpers. 5-inch tall plywood, 3/4 inch stake. 2.5 inch windows. Put an inch hole in the middle. Mitered corners. Fabric wrapped around them. Legs attached with butterfly latches. No further. Somebody's gonna do it one day. It will not be at home. Because that's not how you would match it.
Not the attitude like that.
And we want to increase traction, not remove it.
You can't get debunked if you're over the people.
You're never putting that far. Imagine putting like quarters off the ground ever. Like cover ground floor like nothing. You're just always, you're not getting T-bone, you're being slammed across the field, and then actually you'll get tilted down onto whatever your like side is. Like, bump cars do not take impact well at all.
I'm gonna grab.
There's nothing for them to impact against, they just twist.
Alan, you're not gonna grab like two grab. You know CAD or grab. You see what CAD is?
What is that?
A model detector.
I've seen crap. Next year when we have the 3-foot, next year when we have better access to 3-foot, we'll grab kits, so you can 3D print on like a serial like mounting thing that has cable retention, so now like it's coming from the example. We should actually start using like the right now. Wire retention, yeah, because they keep saying that they want to design their own mounting plate with wire retention, but no one's really designed it.
Retention as in like guiding walls.
So if you yank them, you're able to pull out the section. So they don't lose their impact. Keeping the wires in there too can be a little bit trickier. They don't have like, sidecars ridiculously hard to get wire out. Those are all blue things that cover it. So we have to basically make these little blue things.
$18 megabytes.
Not a robot. Of course it's not a robot.
It does work.
No, not programmed. Not programmed.
It's programmed.
Yeah, controllers on. The whole point is to edit parts in an assembly. That's the whole point of today. Editing parts in an assembly. What is it? Oh, what brand are you working on? Yes.
Yeah, they did it wrong. How do I do this?
But yeah, we did like
Yeah, I don't want to solve my timeline.
That's the hard part. It's sending out things to like very custom data on the wall that figure out other people who see data and try to innovate.
You can't go up to the whole thing, be slightly more slightly after the wall. Yeah. Go around to the wall.
100%. It's still all and I know that's
Totally what he
Then make an airline to require by that point. By that,
Oh, we're supposed to demo this.
Air show.
We got replies back from the wings over Houston, big one. But it's the same day as Maker's Day, or the Maker Fair. But it's also the Sunday afterwards, so I gotta figure out how to get some team to not go to Maker Fair and go to the air show on Saturday.
Is there a Maker Fair in Houston?
What?
Is there a Maker Fair in Houston?
You get this from on emails? Like, there were like 7 Maker Fair emails, but just this week, because we were like on the news for Maker Fair. Like, do you read Disco Bunny Bell?
Yes, I do.
Like Andy is in charge of a large part of Maker Faire Houston.
Really?
Yes, he's in charge of like all of like the robot part, I believe. Like he's laying out the entire space this year.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, you were trying to find who like made something.
first mistake was right.
No, and you're
Is it good?
you're to work this other stuff. I mean, you're not. It's not as cool as like you looking at. I just did lunch here, but it's definitely not. Except press for buttons. Otherwise, everyone would lunch. Giant fireworks. That would be bad. So you eventually probably try to make it so it's easy, but it's still like it's so complicated.
It should be steps. Unless it's a water.
It's not Carnegie, it's debate.
The other school.
Oh, we gave a presentation at a street school. So the guy that works, he made like a turbine one.
It's like a roll of toothpaste.
The other guy, he designed a turbine.
I hate this stuff. It's too far. There's brothers. That's right. And they record on the parts. They make things here. And they cut apart. Right, they sewed it up. And they started taking it, they made fun of it. Finally decided to get rid of it. And
One of the first very common.
so they go after the field and decide to get rid of it at night. For some reason, so one of the brothers just forgot it. And the other brother watches how he sees something that's terrible. The brother.
Oh, God.
That's how it is. Yeah.
They bring it up to all.
Haven't you guys?
Doesn't sound like a motivation.
That's a terrible motivation. Because you're in charge of like the other kids.
I did hide all the boards.
The actual menu. Origins.
Or chickens. There we go. Yes, there it goes. You should find the guy which
Overdefined means you too many bits. So X out of that and figure out whatever you're mating already. Oh yeah, so what are you trying to make? Okay, so drag that. So most likely it's going to be wrong. So wait.
Because they're probably telling you to like stretch some metal up and do it.
All of our robot parts are there. More so next year.
Ian's ahead of me now, dang it.
I know the front end. This is like a really bad, it's not even strong one.
What do you mean the movie? Yeah, movie before. I never saw it. I saw the
That's one option, right? Because I think rather than make the much easier option is what you do in real life, which is well, I think that's what you made it something Oh. So now,
I still can't do anything because it won't float.
what do you mean?
Then we do this just things. So on the other one.
Which one? So what's wrong? So then we edit
She actually has a Twitter. My mom has a Twitter. My mom has a Twitter. Really? I don't have a Twitter. I don't. Really? She's an Instagram. What's her name? I'll follow her. I will follow her.
Her figured out.
I'll ask her.
Good job. Way to help each other. Helping each other is good. Always help each other. Tomorrow we'll go into sheet metal. We'll do an overview of what sheet metal is, how it all works,
And we're gonna bend.
the bend stuff, and then we will bend lots and lots of things.
You have the neat stuff?
Is it mate stuff?
Make.
Mate, yes. Make everything sheet metal. But it's all flat and you can bend it. Well, it's actually, you make a part that you just add the bends. It's all button hooks.
Just like naked bend. Is there a problem?
You click it, you make a flat part, and then you add an edge flange, and you tell it how that edge flange works. And then yeah, except for the most part, every part we've used angles on like the TRI trophies. And
That's why.
that's the only thing, one of the few times we make anything that's not 90. The power diffusion panel from last year
Oh yeah.
had a crazy angle in it. But we tried very, very hard not to, because if all you send them is 90s, they just like, it's much easier for them to just like input distances and drop 90 values. But we'll talk about why that is. The important part of using 90-degree angles and not other angles. We're probably gonna have to use other angles next year to make a hexagon chassis.
What?
Hexagon chassis.
No, I just.
148 style.
So like.
Two flat sides on the front back. Hexagon. So then when you get T-bones,
Probably have like 15.
well, I like you have a drive path, right? So you're like T-bones you to like one of the hex sides, and you can just drive away. Because right now you can't drive away because you did. Oh, you need a force vector away from the motor.
So you choose this year, the in and out.
Yeah, I mean, we just learned the benefits of it. 971 and it was really hard to pin 971 and 148, so now everyone's going to do it. I mean, by everyone, I mean there'll be like 60 teams next year, so I guess. It's up on it's trending upwards in FRC. There's going to be a lot of people who build octagon chassis, not a good idea.
I was like, you didn't like Octagon. What? I couldn't think of
Octagon,
Did you
not
really
good.
change your mind?
I finished my rollout.
Why is Octagon
You're pushing for casters and just like different balances. Gyro stabilized. You can make segways on it.
You guys put a wheel in your side wheel?
It's just two wheels, except there's only two fans.
Yeah, just put a wheel in the front and the back.
They will be on the show. Al, should I put the retread on the back? Except, perpendicular for these?
No. All wheels in line with each other, unless you're doing the 40-degree LT.
No, we're not doing
You're done with
I
it.
want to do harmonic instead of all the
Push right through. You like, you get a little like pneumatic cylinders, and just flip them to Omni and brought them back to front.
Come on. Rollers are not the new thing, they're more. Wait, why do people run home? Like, why do
Does he go sideways? We didn't know that a lot of them wanted to go sideways. This makes sense because our floor track was all planar, right? So we figured if we're going to adjust, we can drive sideways. Turns out that the inertia for a giant circle, and if you just twist, you can still put it on the peg. Because it's a giant circle, and your driver's not going to be off by more than like this 8-inch circle that you get. You can hack it over to the
But he says what?
I want to do it again tomorrow.
Okay. We can pack up. You can sign out. I don't know why people didn't notice it was 17. You seriously never have to wait for me to say you can leave. Just, if you're ready to go, just go. Like I'm not.
Like in the middle of the camp, like at 5.
I mean, if